Alright. Sorry for the slightly late start there. But yeah, so hello there and welcome back to Corey Loses for the continuation of our Fall of the Republic playthrough as the Republic. So, last episode we unfortunately ended with me going over the 25,000 credits and finishing the a stockpile credits mission. But, so I wasn't able to save that. We're back where we were at the start of last episode. So, all our Jedi are here. Order 66 is going to happen once again. But yeah, so I put up a poll yesterday asking what you guys wanted to see after this playthrough ends. And so far, the Republic is winning by like 10% over the Empire. So we will probably do another Republic playthrough after this, which I'm actually fine with because the bug in this one has made it a bit more difficult to show off what's going on. And we've made some fairly significant changes when you're playing as the Republic. So it should be fine doing it that way, and then we'll have an Empire one soon after that, or we'll probably play another mod first. But yeah, so I did see some questions in the chat before we get going here about when the mod would be coming out. We are still planning on a Thursday release, but we're going to see what exactly we end up doing with that there, because again, we made some changes to how the map is set up for the Republic player. But either way, thank you, Rampaging Rhino, the $5 or £5 donation. Sup, Corey? Not much. But I'm going to get this fleet to Rishi once again. Take the clones with it, apparently. And we know where we got attacked in some places. So I'm going to take a bit of advantage of that. And I'll try not to spend too much time on stuff we did last time and make it a bit different, but I actually want to see Total War Warhammer 2 as the Wood Elves. That is definitely going to happen. Now that I'm just doing more random streaming on the channel. That's... Next time will you go pro Jedi? Okay, so this is actually something that's come up a lot in some comments, like what happened. Right now, the Order 65 route is not especially fleshed out. The thing is, like, you just keep the Jedi and you get the Neutron Star. Those story elements are going to become more fleshed out as we go. Pride of Inglesa. But the focus with this first release is to get the basic mechanics and the main storylines kind of started. So just the skeleton of what's going to happen. Is that Grievous' End in there? Alright, so they're just going to leave. Will the 15% chance of getting IST ships increase slightly with the release? No. So you have to consider that the 15% is every 40 seconds. So it's very easy to just get let's go. It's not as rare as you'd think. Like 15% sounds low, but it is every week. You don't have to know if you guys are ever going to make an Old Republic mod, because I would start Warspeed. It's something I'd like to do. I don't know how likely it is.
Complete. All ahead. Construction complete. There we go.
But let's get Ithor back. I kind of want to just auto-resolve our Jedi in it. I represent the interests of several ship designers who are eager to build on the successes of our vendor design. Rishi Space Battle. Teehee.
Building started.
So maybe we'll just auto-resolve our Jedi. Because we already did Ithor. Let's see if we can... Yeah.
System control.
That's fine.
Constructing.
Because the Jedi are going to die anyways.
Tactical battle imminent.
Duro... I forgot Duro got attacked. And we tried to defend this last time, but it didn't work out too well.
There we go.
We'll be there soon.
Construction has been removed.
I need to make sure we don't go over
Beginning construction.
that amount of money.
Building started.
Alright, we should be safe with that. So I'm partially thinking, especially with the next playthrough we're doing being Republic as well, that with the bugs going on in this playthrough, we could just finish off what we finish off here, and then start with the updates. If this ends with me getting the bug again, potentially that's what we'll do. Because I don't want to abandon the playthrough, but there's a lot we're missing out on here. Because this build is from before the beta even started, so there's a lot that is missing.
Reporting in. Dreadnought cruiser ready.
We've had a lot of people join the team recently, so our ability to do more content has increased a bit. Like Farshad just joined for helping with 3D art. Terrible joined and is helping with 3D art. Mr. Puerto Rican learned how to do some 3D art. Me and Bob are still doing that. Inertial has done a lot with character art, especially, and he's come a long way with that. Like some of the stuff he's been doing with the Haven characters and stuff has been great, and so it's not impossible that we have more stuff we can do later. It's always just a question of what do we have the team bandwidth to do. Will your team make an ATHE eventually for the mod? It's a shame. Yeah, that's a potential thing, but it's not something we have any current plans for. I think UTAT would probably come first, and then one of the things with Fall of the Republic with future releases is that we got to just see what feels missing after this release. Because a lot of that has even changed during beta, where we initially weren't going to have the interdiction stuff in for 0.5, but then testing made that seem a lot more important. The sector forces that we coded in on stream, that was something that we didn't think we'd be doing for a while, or didn't even necessarily think we'd be doing in that form, but just the game flow kind of required having something like that. So a lot of that kind of stuff can shift. So the ATHE, for those who don't know, it's basically an ATTE, but on 4 really tall legs. Or is it 4 or 6? I think it's 4. I modeled one a long time ago, but obviously a long time ago means we should not be using it. But we've got Queen of Naboo. Grand Old Gilad. Challenge accepted. The real pride of the Corps. There is no real pride of the Corps. No matter how much people ask for it, does not make it a ship that will be in the mod. It is not canon. The Jim Brenlow. Unlimited power. Missing again. I want to be a Venator when I grow up. And Existential Dreadnought.
Stay in formation. Get behind them.
Can't wait for it to be fully finished. That's the thing with mods. There's no such thing as fully finished. There will always be more we can do.
Standing by. Target those lasers.
I have them now.
Are the AT-AT still in the game for the Republic? Because I remember it was in the other playthrough. No, that was because of the garrison forces for the Republic having not been set up yet. There is a Clone Wars era AT-AT, but it's a different. It's not the main model people would be familiar with. It's an experimental thing. It's not in the mod at the moment. It is something that could potentially be added later. There's a lot, again. There's a lot that can potentially be done, but it'll all depend on where the biggest gaps feel like they are.
Locking on.
Which is one of the reasons we try to do the development cycles how we do. it allows us to be a lot more reactive to, I get the needs of the mod. So we feel like it's better to get the core of the mod out, get feedback on what that is, and then have iterations on that as often as possible, rather than waiting a year and having stuff become quickly outdated when people could be playing a better version of the mod. As a general rule, the mod you can play is better than the mod you can't, but there are some limitations to that, like you need to have certain core features done, but
Bombers at the ready.
we want to make sure that it's
Standing by. I copy.
enjoyable for people.
Roger that. Enemies in range.
Attack formation. I copy.
Bombers reporting in.
Ready to go, sir.
Alright, this goal needs to be bombed.
I have them now.
Another mines can be deployed by ships. How many also can you build gravity mines as well as a structure? Gravity wells as a structure will probably come back at some point.
Roger that.
Each of the supply ships can currently deploy can deploy a mine up to 4 times per battle.
Priority is the laser cannons.
Enemies incoming. What are your orders? Garrett Commander here.
Coming back.
That may end up being different between different fleet tenders, but because like the DHC is much bigger, but it can also do other stuff. So, will the Republic ever get anything bigger than the Praetor? Yep, we're gonna do the Mandator eventually, but we still need to make a design for it. The design that people are familiar with from other mods is a Fanon model by Evil Jedi, mostly based on a background ship in Dark Empire. But the fact that it's in so many mods has kind of given people the impression that it's a canon design, which is not the case. So for that kind of stuff, we're going to be making our own designs. When will the mod be available? We're hoping for a Thursday release. So midnight between Wednesday and Thursday. But there are certain things that need to go right for that. So that's not like a hard and fast thing, that's the dream. It looks like it's fairly likely to happen, but I can't make any promises.
Open fire on those laser
I
cannons.
copy.
Will you do different Galactic Conquest story-wise for the different years of the Clone Wars? Like in the first year, it starts with the Geonosis invasion, then you can progress in the first year. So actually, if you play the main 3 maps, you can actually choose the starting year, which impacts the starting forces. So you can start in year 1, 2, or 3. With 3 kind of combines 3 and 4. But for simplicity, 1, 2, and 3. And there will be suitable events for all that, and then there will be some Galactic Conquest that cover different periods and planet groupings. Like the main thing is just planet groupings with having actual different conquests, because the starting forces and the stories we can kind of control with the starting era. Thank you very much, Brady. In short, people, Corey doesn't want to just Yoda mod it. As much as people say they want it now, that's how you get No Man's Sky Fallout 76. Working core is better than what's yours. Kind of. Like, there are some mods where being a unit add-on is kind of what they want to do. But to me, when you have all that stuff and then it just, like, is all there, contextless, and doesn't fit together very well, it kind of loses the novelty really fast, and it becomes less exciting that stuff is there. So we prefer to make give it more depth where we can and kind of figure out the directions we're going with that stuff. Wikipedia says the AT-AT looks similar to the AT-AT, but there's no details beyond it. There used to be a picture on the page. Like, I know there's a picture out there somewhere. It may just be concept art. But, yeah. Chris Gauss as well. Thank you very much for the PayPal. I really appreciate it.
Construction complete.
Will the other legions be used for the Jedis, like the 327th? So Mr. Puerto Rican has been working on a lot of legion skins and commander skins and stuff. Right now, the only ones in are the ones in the video that I posted. So for phase 1 and phase 2. But we want to keep it kind of simple for now, just to make sure that everything does what it needs to do. Because it is a feature we want to make sure doesn't introduce any like extra lag, so we want to kind of scale it up from there. We weren't even sure if we'd get it in for this first version, but I'm pretty happy we did. Alright, Big Chungus's fleet is going to go for
Gauge standing by.
Deco Neomoidia soon.
Ready to go.
Building under construction.
Need to make sure I spend this money. So let's also get Republic Pride.
Building started.
I was really expecting that to...
Construction complete.
Alright, hold on. I'll wait for this
Tactical battle imminent.
so I can buy this. Yinkor. Okay, Shizzle. How do you get Phase 2 clones? You just go into the second era, which it used to be, so we started it would be 50-ish weeks, like a year. But now we've actually compressed it to 30 weeks because it was just so difficult to get through enough of the mod that way.
On our way.
Let's go to Corson, and I would like to clear out Yinkor if we can, but...
Tactical battle imminent.
I like the map, so even though there's not much there.
The enemy is approaching.
Star Cruiser on our way.
Will you be adding planets at all? There are already about 400 planets between Fall of the Republic and Imperial Civil War, and Thrawn's Revenge rather, which
Advance
means
on
they
target.
can each show up in either. We add planets when there are specific planets that are needed for a scenario or a faction. Usually when a faction gets added, we add more planets that are related to them, like we did that with the CSA, we did that with Fall of the Republic for CIS and Republic. The map that we're playing on right now, this is actually the smallest of the 3 progressive maps. It's about 90 planets, and the largest one is about 140. So there are quite a few planets in the mod that, even within a single galactic conquest. Alright, I want to clear out Yinkor.
Construction complete.
Oh, they were going to attack with that super battle droid. That's rude.
Tactical battle imminent.
Ord Tracy. Commerce Guild is really starting to be a problem. Do you plan on adding heroes for all the CIS factions? We were thinking about having them have heroes, but generally they give their heroes to the main CIS, so either there'd be 2 copies of them eventually in the mod, which is usually something we try to avoid.
The enemy has been spotted.
We're more likely to just leave them as CIS rewards.
Roger that.
Alright, they're going to come for us, so we can hold back a bit.
Yes, Commander.
Or, you know what, let's send the bombers
Weapons charged.
after the Ultra Heavy.
Ready.
And I think our fighters should... Yeah, we got enough fighters to hold them off.
Carrot Commander here.
Work with 10s. Arquaitans.
I got one.
Would it be possible to limit production of clone troopers to only Camino when playing on the hardest difficulty? That is something we generally want to avoid doing because it's...
Eyes reporting in. Fire.
I'm on.
It basically means the rest of the galaxy will never see clone troopers.
Attack that target.
And there were other cloning vats in the galaxy beyond Camino, like they were produced on various planets. So it isn't even that lore friendly.
Moving to attack.
If people want to run it as a challenge for themselves that they only build them there, then
Starting our attack run.
that's
Fire. Reporting.
something they can just limit themselves with.
Come about.
Commander, they're here.
But having difficulty-based options like that is rather difficult, especially for something that is it shouldn't be something that players are forced into either.
To attack.
So it'd be a thing that players should have to turn on if they really want to do that. At which point, just don't build them anywhere else if you really want to do it that way.
Target locked.
Will the Mandator be in the mod? Yep. Eventually the Mandator will be in.
Round for another.
Just not in the first release because there was way too much other stuff to do.
Nowhere to run. Falling out of formation.
Hey, Maro, I'm good. How are you?
Attack formation.
Hello to Germany. All of Germany.
I need help.
Will the AI CIS unite? Yes. So we are still trying to fiddle with the numbers on that. Before they were uniting too slowly. So I've been trying to bump that up and basically give them free affiliation earlier.
Get behind them.
So that's a thing that is still being fiddled with a bit.
Fire. Commander, they're hitting
But
us.
generally on harder difficulties you want them to unite a bit earlier. But it's kind of a balancing act there too, because more factions will actually mean they attack more often, even if they have fewer resources to work with. So it's actually a bit of a decision whether we want them to unite earlier or later on harder difficulties. Right now we're going with earlier and then hoping the additional resources will be helpful to those factions. But it's a strange thing.
Target locked.
See him.
Can you do specific events for the CIS to gain heroes? Like if you get the Trade Federation, you get Newt Gunray or something like that? Newt Gunray specifically, you actually start with as the CIS. But for most of the factions, there are or will be heroes that you get that way. So, Pors Tonith and Captain Cantival you get for integrating the Banking Clan. You get Martuk and Loch Durd for integrating the Trade Federation. You get Providence and Recusant Dreadnought for integrating the Commerce Guild, and there will be some heroes associated with that as well. That's something that's going to get a lot of extra content and more fleshed out as the mod develops.
Brigade standing by.
Tactical battle imminent.
In co-op? Oh, really? Come on. Is MTT, AAT, Lucrehulk going to have the respective faction color markings? There are some situations where some of those ships do. Lucrehulk you just saw. And we generally, even if they're on different factions, we don't have different markings for stuff. There's just different situations where it'll use certain markings or not, especially with space units, because we try not to have like a ton of different variants of units, because that gets messy.
Turret constructing.
Let's do this.
This can be
Repair station constructing.
For our brothers.
this. I'm just gonna make this a sensor node.
Sensor node constructing.
That's actually the worst place to do that. Oh well.
Construction complete. Construction
unit
complete. Base is under attack.
Will the Republic get economic heroes like the CS? Yes. There will be one probably for 0.6. I don't think we're going to do it for 0.5, but they're relatively easy to do, so that could change.
Let's go. Covering fire, go.
You know what? This I'm going to do... Oh, we don't have money for that. Never mind. My bad.
Let's do this.
So I need that AA turret. For some reason I thought we had 10,000 credits. If the Republic wipes out a faction, they can still... Yeah, so the faction can... You can still get the integration rewards for integrating a dead faction. We'll see if we want to keep that or not, but it's... For now, it seems like the better call to do it that way. What ship do the CS heroes get beyond Munificence? Don't it? They get... Well, Grievous has 3, so he can have a Recusant, a Providence, or Subjugator. Invisible Hand, Progenitor is a Recusant, P something. And the Malevolence. The Trench has his Providence Dreadnought. Cantival has a Munificent. Porus Tonith has a Lucrehulk. They actually have a pretty wide variety of hero ship options. I don't think there's a ship class where there's more than 2 that has as hero ships. The Republic is a bit less assorted. Do you plan on adding Republic clone heroes like Alpha, Clone Commando? Delta Squad is already a hero. They're the only clone heroes right now, but in the future there'd be some like Rex and Cody. With 1.0 we just want, or with 0.5 we wanted to make sure we had a core of similarly sized, or a similar sized hero pool for each faction. So there was around 18 was our goal for each faction. It ended up being a little bit, usually within 2 of that. So we're pretty happy with that as a starting point.
Let's do this. Follow behind me. Charge!
What Tambor, will he be in the game as a hero? He will be in one of the next builds. He's not in this one. Ah, my scouting didn't go well. You know what? I'm just gonna.
Gravity control generator destroyed.
What do you think about having high costs for ships resulting in smaller fleets versus cheaper ships and larger fleet engagements? Is that something you discussed when making them on? Yeah. So the bigger difference is generally between how much you're spending on infrastructure versus how much you're spending on units. And our balance for that has pretty much always been in favor of units, because then you're getting more direct expression from players on what they want their fleets to look like. You can get a lot of interesting gameplay from having the more limited fleet size, but it usually results in starting forces being essentially all you use in some situations. So fleets get a lot less customizable, and we've tended to prefer to go on the side of having larger fleet engagements, units that are more easily replaced because it becomes more difficult to snowball a campaign. So there's a lot of benefits we feel that direction has. Some mods go the other direction and do it really well, like Awakening of the Rebellion kind of takes the exact opposite approach there, but that does tend to end up being a lot more about the battles you're doing are against the shipyard or the defensive stations and their garrisons. So you end up having a feeling more about like each ship matters staying alive, or you need to keep each ship alive a bit more, but you don't get quite the same ability to have the larger battles that with as many varied units. So there's upsides to each way, but we go more in the one direction for it. And if I do miss questions, feel free to repeat them, because there's a lot going on in chat. So I'm not intentionally ignoring anyone, just
On my way.
trying to answer as much as I can in as much depth as I can while also playing. Are Droidicas meant to be super inaccurate? It feels like you have to put them on top of them if your squad's going to start doing damage. They're not that far off of other units. Generally, units have a longer range than what is their effective range. Right, Anakin.
Stay together.
This is Skywalker.
But again, first release, so there will be a lot of adjustments that end up being made. So I can't give a answer on like what stuff can look like in the final version of the mod 17 years from now.
I've got a very bad feeling about this.
Will Trade Federation have Grey Lucrehawks, Brown MTT, and AAT? So again, like I was saying, the Lucrehawk variants are based on the actual variant of the ship. The battleships, no matter what faction uses them, are always going to have the gray version, and then like the Q class, the cargo hauler Q, is always gray. For stuff like AATs and MTTs, I'm not sure what our decision has been on when one will be used versus the other, but it will almost certainly not be factional.
Closing range. Starting kill sweep.
Regarding the mod, I haven't seen much on it. Is this mostly based on Dark Horse series of comics or the Clone Wars? Is it a mixture? It's all Legends content is fair game.
Going it tight.
There's no individual source that is the primary source. Like, between all of our mods, the Essential Guide to Warfare tends to be how we keep stuff together. But
For our brothers.
can you actually hit this from here? You can. Sweet. But yeah, like, there's stuff from the Clone Wars, there's stuff from
Bombers at the ready.
comics, there's stuff from Essential Guide to Warfare, there's stuff from everywhere.
Commencing
On-site
bombing
ready to
run.
assist. Nobody told me it was gonna be this easy.
Enemies in range.
What about more Republic infantry? Eventually there will be more like Sector 4 stuff. Right now there's just the clones and basic Sector Force infantry for the
I heard you were looking for a Jedi.
Sector Defense Forces, which is like a Republic sub-faction that starts off controlling about half the Republic planet so that the player can't just steamroll the galaxy, which also works thematically. It's a similar approach to what we're doing for the CIS, but a bit more united. There's less of their stories about uniting them. More just a way to keep snowballing from happening.
Starting kill sweep.
A lot of galactic mechanics we do are based on trying to stop snowballing, because that's one of the biggest problems you run into with Empire War. Is it possible to reduce the maintenance cost for fleets which are in orbit of a planet with a valid or Empress Celestation? No, not in the current way it's implemented. If we switch to a Lua-based system, then we'd be able to do that, but there's also some downsides to that. So we'll see what we end up doing with maintenance costs, but that's not really a huge focus for us at the moment. Huge? I don't know why I said it like that. But let's keep bombing stuff with the artillery from here. Okay, here comes some spider droids.
This is where the fun begins.
Point sweep. Let's go point. Now. Going in. Bust your trooper. Taking vanguard. Follow me.
Alright, Anakin,
This is Skywalker.
you're doing a good job. Would it be possible to instead have civilian garrisons instead of clone droids? That'll depend on the structure. So, like, the senator offices have the Senate commandos or Senate guards. Barracks, like, Sparty cylinder, or cloning garrison, or, like, clone buildings will have clone garrisons. We're trying to make that as appropriate as possible for the stuff that's using it. Will Golan's be replaced by other space stations? So Golan 1s were actually in the Clone Wars, as were Golan 2. Golan 2 become available at later eras. Golan 3s won't be there, but there will be some other more era-appropriate structures added in the future as well, but not for this build. This build is just a subset of the Thrawn's Revenge structures, which is mostly fine because Empire at War AI can't see those structures, and we haven't put in any of the supporting things we want to be able to use those more effectively.
Follow me. Hot and fast. Point sweep.
I heard you were looking for a Jedi.
Alright, Anakin.
Scanning hostile.
So might see Ahsoka in the mod in the future. Yep. She's one of the more likely ones. Sleverd is also already working on her model. Because he and I both started working on Shaak Ti. So we're like, ooh, would you, after I'd finished it, he was still working on her. So like, would you mind changing that into Ahsoka?
Bombers reporting
And so she got shifted up the priority list.
that Jedi training in good use.
You talking about our droid control Lucrehulks when it appear, possibly giving B1s a combat bonus. So you can't directly give them a combat bonus like that because B1's ground units Lucrehulks space. But the droid control ships will be in probably the next build. We have a model for them, it's not rigged yet. There were some issues with the shadow mesh. So they will be there. We haven't decided on final effects for it yet. But it will eventually be in the mod at least.
On site, ready to assist.
Let's see. Well, from the ground up, all in single planet start being Father Republic. Yep, that is already in the mod. That's one of the released GCs. I still need to do some changes for it to some of the government mechanics to accommodate the fact that from the ground up exists. Because you can start off like getting Order 66 right away, which is not ideal. Alright, what are we dealing with? Just this. Artillery is really good right now. I think last night Nolan reduced them from 2 per company to 1 per company, but they're still really useful, and I don't want to like completely nerf them right away. I'm pretty happy with where that is right now. You can make a standard MTT, AAT, and Lucrehulk then if a hero is associated with the faction, change the colors as with the clone troopers. So that's kind of difficult with space stuff because you're increasing the model file size a lot. With clones, it's not as big of a deal because the clones tend to be lower poly, but you can't just like swap the texture, you have to swap the model. So you basically have 2 model files in each file. And there are 1 or 2 places where that's going to be used, like Open Circle Fleet for Yularen. But we don't want it to be too common because, again, memory limits. Do you think Legends is too messy and thrown together? Because I find it very confusing. There are parts of it that don't work as well together. There are parts that are a lot messier. There are parts that make less sense. But when you have that many people working on the same story, especially when early on, especially, like, it wasn't always meant to be one thing. The idea of that kind of evolved more as it progressed. Because like when Marvel was doing the comics and then Bantam was doing the books, they weren't like always trying to make sure that the books lined up with what Marvel had done before, and so it really depends on specific sources. Yuck. Well, Sec 4, sorry, one of the questions just scrolled up too far as I was reading it. So there's a question about Sec Force. I don't know if there's anything above that. If you want to just repost your question, I'll try to answer it. So right now you're using Anakin in great effects. He appears to have not many trouble just going off on his own. When you play against him, how are you supposed to kill a hero like him? So I've been actually kind of careful to just send Anakin against infantry. Right now Jedi are a bit overpowered after the reworks, but they are pretty vulnerable to vehicle fire. Essentially, Jedi you want to use all the time against infantry because they can deflect a lot and they can heal a lot. But if you have them up against enemy vehicles, they're not as good. The mod full release date, it is coming out on Thursday, I think. Hopefully. If you have a Dreadnought, will it increase planet loyalty because they feel safer? Not presently. We want to change. So right now, influence gets calculated fresh at the start of each week. It's not a floating total. And we're thinking about ways to make it be more of a floating total so that you can just modify it with different factors throughout the week and have it apply dynamically. So there are some things we can't do quite yet with it, but it is something that's going to get a lot of work and fleshed out more as we go. Eck is correct. Everyone should really just like the stream, because that's where all my self-esteem comes from. Yeah, this was also before a lot of balance changes from the beta. What is your favorite lightsaber color? Orange. Will there be more playable factions than just Republic and CIS? Eventually, there are a couple options for that. But for the first release especially, we are just sticking with Republic and CIS.
Construction complete.
Alright, I need to use my Jedi before they go away.
Imminent.
Ord Tracy Planetary Battle. Okay, guess you get it back. Oh, actually, IGBC had it, so.
Setting course.
Right, I need to use these before I get auto-resolved to death.
Construction.
Or I need to auto-resolve them to death before I...
Tactical battle imminent.
Brigade standing by.
Construction complete. Invasion commencing. System conquered.
Right away.
Roger.
Alright, Mason Obi-Wan. Then I'm going to save after this as well. And I need to make sure I spend more money. Has the aggressor ever been considered as an Imperial unit in Thrawn's Revenge? Well, first, could you make a Jedi be a fighter on the ground? Like a space fighter? That would... We don't do that for a lot of balance reasons. Will you be making some Infinity GCs like when you play with the CIS with the Jedi after Order 66? Not that specific one. There may be some other... There's a bunch of GCs we want to do.
Heading out.
Better word question for the one I posted above. Will non-clone human infantry units be buildable instead of just garrisons? Yes, in some cases. So I'm just trying to run through as many. Has the aggressor ever been considered? There is one thing we are considering the aggressor for, so it could show up. That's the Consortium unit in Forces of Corruption, for those who don't know. Are you going to have portraits made for heroes like you did for the CSA and Thrawn's Revenge? I believe you said you would. Yeah, that's something Valerie's going to be working on. It's really a longer term project, so don't expect to see it all at once.
Just what I needed.
Will there be Umbara and Militia and Starfighters? So Umbara are one of the first... I think Umbara and Naboo are probably the first localized units you're likely to see. So N1 Starfighters, maybe like GN Speeders, I think they're called. That kind of stuff. But Umbara is definitely high up on the priority list in that. But again, for this build, it was more about doing core unit rosters. Would it be out the realm of possibility to see any CIS sub-factions in the mod in future releases? If you mean as playable factions, then no. Like, they're going to stay non-playable. Because they're more of a game mechanic for the CIS than anything. We don't want to go too far down the Imperial Civil War route, where it's just... In Fall of the Republic, those sub-factions are more there to support the bigger factions and for gameplay mechanics related to them. Hey, Marmart. I download this mod anywhere. It'll be released later this week. It's not out just yet. Kepka, like how auto-resolving Jedi to death before Order 66 is a legit strategy. Yeah. Well, right now it's just such a limited time frame before Order 66 happens. Because of some testing I was doing that I didn't reverse before the beta started. But, I mean, may as well. Especially because I'd already done some of those battles and had to restart from an older save. Did KDY know about Palpatine's plot to terminate the Jedi? I think very few people actually knew what Palpatine was up to. We keep them in that route, though, because that's where Palpatine is most in control, and so you're getting more towards the Imperial stuff. There's as much with thematics there as canon, so making a story that makes sense, while still keeping the themes of the mod intact. Any plan on adding buzz droid mechanics? Yes, but not in the same way, like, not with the same kind of, like, balanced numbers that you'd be familiar with from elsewhere, because they get very, very powerful in other mods. So will the CS have access to HK-47 in some of the units? I remember him being in Legends as having recovered by the CS and they made him... That is probably not going to happen. He was on Mustafar in Galaxies, I think it was, but that's not likely to be something we do.
There we go. Follow behind me. Now we're talking. Come on.
HK-47 will have to be a Revan's Revenge exclusive.
Locked and firing.
Did Django know about Order 66? Django probably got decapitated way too early to learn much about anything. I doubt he was really familiar with any of Palpatine's actual plans. It was probably just a job for him. Maybe some coastal buildings, Camino Garrison, Genos Destroyed Works. Well, the basic structures for the factions will be themed differently. Right now, obviously, they're just the base game ones, but as we start making new assets for them, we'll probably work on specializing them first, and then like figuring out what we want for them first, and then doing the assets. IG 100 Mega Guards unit will be in the game. They used to be actual units that came with Grievous, but the game is kind of weird about companies being set up like that. So they aren't going to be in the first release. We're going to figure out what to do with them for the second release. Because the asset's done, the animation's terrible. Like, it's a very old model, but they will show up at some point. Could you add a secret hyperspace lane at Coruscant? Maybe unlock completion. So unfortunately, planets and travel routes can't really change with story scripting in any way. Like, you can't spawn in new ones, which is unfortunate for a lot of reasons. But the okay, I need to spend this money. Even if you try to like put in a fake planet next to Coruscant that unlocks and it like connects somewhere else, the game lets you go past locked planets, so it's a kind of messy situation for Empire at War. Audible. Oh, sorry, Bob wanted me to say this. I'm not allowed to say audible sigh. Will Dirge show up at some point in the mod? Yep, Dirge is planned for a future release. Judge Dreadnought is now a Dreadnought properly. Add Bo-Katan, Thunderchild. Nothing to dread here. Artist Accord. Venerable Venator. Alright. Who's the most powerful Jedi in the game? I think Dooku and Yoda end up being the most powerful right now in terms of numbers, which works out fairly well as far as what we intend, but that might shift around a bit. Vader Anakin will probably end up getting a significant stat boost. Alright, let's get Big Chungus into Wheeler's fleet. This is Wheeler, right? Yeah.
Corruption has been removed.
Could you add Eckhart's Ladder as a super secret hero? So there are some YouTubers who we're going to give them a custom unit they can put in. We don't want to force everyone to play with them, but it is something like Jack, Eck, Charlie are going to get. Where's this approaching? Naboo? We still like the Naboo. Do the Venator Star Destroyers have more HP and shields in Fall of the Republic compared to Thrawn's Revenge, or do they have more hard planes to make up for the balancing issues? Neither. They have exactly the same stats as in Thrawn's Revenge, but you have to keep in mind that they are fighting different stuff. Like, in Thrawn's Revenge, they're an older frigate that is very much outclassed by a lot of the newer ships. In Fall of the Republic, they are one of the largest, newest ships, so there's not as much that can compete with them.
Construction complete.
Yeah, let's do this one. Oh, I still need to save. Can you add Lego Yoda death sound effects? This mod looks epic. What is the biggest plan for future updates? There'll be like more story stuff is probably one of the biggest things that's going to be there, but there's also stuff like Hutch showing up, and there's a lot that is to come.
Reinforcements en route.
I don't think I've used both your ships together yet. I don't know. Will you add skins to the clones on the ATRTs like the one in Legions? The ATRTs won't use the Legion mechanics, because again, we want to limit the memory usage from that mechanic as much as possible, so the clone troopers have it, but we're not going to have like 5 copies of the ATRT model, most likely. There is going to be like a modified clone trooper that we use as the ATRT pilot, I think. That was the plan. But that is not my department right now, so my info may be outdated. That was something that I think Nolan and Puro were talking about. So
Let's move out.
Stay in formation.
are there any plans for adding some of the non-ground units for the CIS? Non-droid ground units, sorry.
Standing by.
I read that like 8 times incorrectly.
Direct fire on the engines.
But yeah, there's going to be a pretty significant focus on irregular units, so like not part of the GAR droid armies in the future, like we were talking about with the Imbarans, with the sector forces getting expanded in some ways. But I'm definitely going to save right now. What kind of super star destroyers are we going to add? So the Mandator is the main one. Subjugator's already in. That's probably going to be the biggest ship the CIS ever has. But with the Republic, it's like Praetor and Mandator are your super ships, really. Can we get Jorah Sabaoth as a space unit with his outbound flight? So I'd like to do a tactical mission around outbound flight, but that'd just be like a historical tactical battle. It doesn't really make a GC very well. Will the Thursday release be on Steam and mod database? Yep. So when we release the mod, it'll be available on both Steam and mod database, but it'll only work for the Steam version of the game. Can you make Charlie a Gonk droid? He's actually getting a Star Fox ship, and I don't want to see what he does with pictures of it, but can certain planets have special buildings like Kamino gets tons of clone skill type varieties? Same with Geonosian, Arc, Heavy Troopers, Jetpack. No, we're not doing a bunch of like planet-specific infantry like that. With clones, what we're doing is like if they require a new role, they'll get that. But we wouldn't limit that to just Kamino. And if it's just like a visual change, it's not going to be something that we just throw in for the sake of it. Like we were very careful with things like the Legions to do that, where you get the visual thing, but you don't get a build bar that's clogged up with unnecessary units that do the same stuff. Well, Maelstrom isn't an SSD. What's the biggest thing you want to add to the Republic? Add to follow the Republic after the official? I kind of covered that with the initial question there, but that might have been after or before I answered that. Okay, regular Praetor 1 and Big Chungus. Here you go, Ek.
Let's go.
Like the thing I'm individually most looking forward to is probably Hut stuff, just because I love Hut ships. But if you want to call that an individual thing, that's not really an individual thing, is it? But that's what I want. Oh well. It's my answer and you have to live with it.
Priority is the laser cannons.
ARF troopers running ATR is not the standard. Well, again, it's a question of what resources you have and time you have to like. Making new infantry is one of the most difficult and time-consuming things to do for Empire at War, or for most things. So we can't always just do immediately the thing that lore-wise makes the most sense. It's either use the ATRTs with what we have, or don't have ATRTs. So, and then where replacing that stuff falls in the priority list is depends on other factors.
I need help.
Jim Brenlow still alive? Yep. I think every patron unit's alive right now.
Or enemy craft.
Corey and X LP series in Star Wars Galaxies. Oh boy, I don't know. Heck.
Got them in my sights.
You want to get into some MMOs, buddy?
I copy.
Would you be making the Mandator based on a Bellator model, or would it look more like it does in Republic of War? Not. Well, the design we make will be based more on the Mandator. The evil Jedi's design won't factor into it at all.
Torpedo launchers must be destroyed.
Are the 501st and 212th going to be in it? The 501st and 212th, I believe, are both already in the Legion skin hopper. So, actually, is the 212th? I don't know. The 212th isn't. I always get that one confused with. The Clone Legions aren't my strong point. No, 212th is. So, yeah. 212th is, 501st is, and the fucking Wolf Pack. I forget what the Legion number is there, but Plo Koon, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Anakin all have their Legions right now. Alright, go away.
Tactical battle imminent.
And let's see if we can get one more battle out of Obi-Wan. So I'll land the clones and show you guys 212 there. Command vendors for Jedi. No, ground space mixed hero units don't really work aside from basic fighters. Any raid fleet mechanism? No, raid fleets aren't in Fall of the Republic right now. Forget, are you going to include small factions in the unknown regions? So there will be in the future some maps that can include the whole galaxy, and then there'd be a chance for some Thrawn's Revenge content to show up, Thrawn's Revenge factions. So,
Heading out.
potentially.
Closing range.
At maximum unit capacity.
Will the B3 Super Battle Droid be added to the mod? There's not any plans for that currently. It's one of my least favorite units ever. But there's the Phase 1 212th. Phase 1 Legions were a bit more simple than what would come later.
Perfect timing.
They're in this direction.
We get Senate Guards. Yeah, the Senate Guards guard your senators. So when you have an invasion happen on the Republic planets, you have the Senator's Office, which every planet tends to have. That's where you get those. Like, we're trying to find appropriate gameplay places for them, not just, like, spam them as shit people can throw everywhere. Like, that's usually what we try to do when we add stuff like that. Because just contextless throwing stuff around tends to be less fun. You get, like, the initial novelty factor, and then it wears off. And it's just like, okay, this thing is here, and I'm done. Are you going to be adding Captain Rex, Commander Wolf, and Commander Cody? Rex and Cody are very likely to show up as heroes in some capacity.
Just what I needed. They don't stand a chance now.
Wolf, less likely, but not impossible. And a lot of this stuff will have to be like distributed around different GCs. We don't want to just drop 8 trillion heroes on the Republic and tell the CIS have fun. Right, Obi-Wan. So you can see how Obi-Wan is faring when he's getting shot at by a lot of stuff or vehicles. He's not doing quite as well as Anakin was when he was just running around after some B1s. Alright, everyone crouch. And this is before even some of the other balance changes. No one's answering some of the stuff. Will the Separatists have IG Assassin droids? They have the Commando droids right now. They don't have... That's their only, like, Commando-esque unit at the moment. Are you going to be adding former Chancellor Valorum as a hero for the Republic? He was mostly just retired drinking at his estate at this point. I think did the delegation go to him? There were some people that went to him to like talk about how Palpatine was terrible, and he went, not my problem. But no one really liked Valorum.
Just what I needed.
He was not the least corrupt person around.
Computers locked on target.
What about Ahsoka? Talked about her a little bit earlier, but she's What are the more likely heroes for next release? Alright, Mace and Obi-Wan, head on in. What happens to Obi-Wan and Yoda, Force Order 66? They disappear. They go bye-bye. As we flesh out some of the story events, there's a few directions some of that stuff can go in, but that'll also depend on decisions for other mods. So. The heroes respawn after they die? No. So death is permanent. If you die in Thrawn's Revenge or Fall of the Republic, you die in real life. Who are the two people that dislike the stream? Are there plans to add some scenario-based GCs in the future? Yeah, so in the first release, there's the 3 main progressive ones. There's From the Ground Up for each faction, and there's the Foros campaign GC. So Foros is just a small 14-ish planet GC. You can do pretty quickly. There's going to be a lot more like that coming up. Our main focus was just on getting the progressive ones, and then sort of make sure there's enough variety for people, enough range, so people even with weaker PCs that can't run the larger GCs have something to play, because that's a pretty big focus for us always, is making sure performance is as good as we can reasonably do it. But yeah. What happened to Rex in the context of Legends? Is he the voiceover? He's a likely candidate for the Battlefront 2 commander, but I don't think that's him. I don't know that we really get any information about it. I don't think we're ever going to, but it's more likely in Legends he just kind of stayed with the 501st. Do you plan on doing a Conquest of the Rim where the newly formed Empire goes after the Separatist holdouts? See, that would depend on what we want and what we'd want for an Empire mod. So, like, it'd be more likely that we do a mod where you're actually playing the Empire and there's a CIS holdout faction. Like, unless we decided that Fall of the Republic was going to cover the Empire, then it's not really something we're going to do here.
Bad odds for them.
Michael, if you can repost your question, like the chat is scrolling fairly fast, so if you repost it, I'll try to get to it. But I can't scroll back up to find it, because I'd have to tab up, or tab out, which would... If I'm tagged in the questions, that makes it a bit easier to catch them out of the corner of my eye, too.
System conquered.
Brigade standing by.
Any plans for Galactic Civil War mod in the distant future? That's kind of what I was just talking about there. Our plans for what to do with Fall of the Republic would kind of depend on that. Nothing specific. It's not impossible. Will Delta Squad be able to neutralize minor heroes? No, there's no minor heroes to neutralize. You're not going to be able to assassinate people. Release date is planned to be Thursday.
Enemy forces ahead. Come on. Covering fire. Go. Charge.
Any chance of seeing a small earlier GC in which Severance 10 at Chusenjon? No. Like, Severance is always going to be there. I don't know that Etchu's ever going to be high enough on the priority list to make. Like, there's a lot of more story relevant Jedi heroes to do. Reeves, can you stop? Any stealth raids in mind? Not with the base game mechanic, because that just gets kind of shitty. We tried putting that back in Thrawn's Revenge for a bit, like, this is just annoying.
Attack.
There we go. Follow behind me. There we go. Closing range. Follow me. Hard.
I played Remake a little bit.
Starting assault. Follow behind me. Come on.
Can we have the pleasure of killing Ponkrell? We haven't really decided beyond like Coyote Mundi and Ahsoka what other Jedi heroes we're going to be adding. We'll probably do another poll because the Aayla Secura, Kit Fisto, and Shaak Ti were decided via a poll that we put up a long time ago.
Turret constructed.
Follow me. Hard back. Running range.
Alright, you guys are going to hunt down Grievous. Clones are going to do this. We at some point be able to get Naboo fighters or Gungan troops in the mod. Not Gungan troops on the galaxy map. You can use Gungans on Naboo generally. They're not set to spawn right now. Because we're actually going to be changing a lot of how the indigenous forces work in the mod. But stuff like planet-specific units will be coming in the future. Will there be any Inquisitor, some kind of Dark Jedi unit for the Republic after you do Order 66? No, we're not doing a full transition into the Empire.
Unit destroyed.
You're still playing as the Republic.
Let's go. Let's do
Aren't Droideka Mark II for EAW on? They are introduced by EAW, but other sources also reference them. They were very late war CIS units. Everything is made up by its first source until something else references it. So, Empire at War introduced units are no different in that way.
Unit destroyed. Unit destroyed. Unit destroyed.
The sad thing is the polls on YouTube, you can only do so many options. So it might have to be like a straw poll that I link to. But there are some like story relevant ones that we want to do that aren't going to be poll based. Thank you very much, Patrick. Patrick with the $5 donation. Really appreciate it.
System lost.
Add Gree. Again, Rex and Cody are kind of the higher priority clone heroes at the moment. Maybe like Alpha or Fordo. But it's beyond that. Like the Republic has like no shortage of hero options for us to potentially add. But will the Shadow Collective ever be added as a minor faction? The Shadow Collective doesn't really work as a faction in Empire War. They don't have a navy. They don't control planets. If anything, they'd be included as like a story element for the Hutts. Because then having a couple of the hero or unit types that they would have access to is fine as a subset of a faction.
Tactical battle imminent.
Alright, here we go. Master Windu. I must say, you're here sooner than expected.
Dreadnought cruiser ready.
In the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, you are under arrest, Chancellor. Are you threatening me, Master Jedi? The Senate will decide your fate. I am the Senate. Not yet.
Construction complete.
It's treason then. Battle between Sidious and Jedi Masters, Anakin arrives. I'm your pathway to power. I have the power to save the one you love. You must choose. You must stop him. Don't listen to him, Anakin.
Brigade standing by.
You can't kill a master. He must stand trial.
Dreadnought cruiser ready.
Power, unlimited power. What have I done? What have I done? You are fulfilling your destiny, Anakin. Become my apprentice. Learn the dark side of the Force. I pledge myself to your teachings, to the ways of the Sith. Good, good. The Force is strong with you. A powerful Sith you will become. Henceforth, you shall be known as Darth Vader because the Captain, etc. The timing on that's wrong.
Tactical battle
But
imminent.
can you give us any details on what we might see in the future releases of Throne's Revenge? Use on Vong War. So I just joined it in the last episode. Yeah, I had to restart from where we started last episode, but we've made some more progress anyways. Will you add Droideka snipers? Specific units we haven't made too many decisions on. Is it possible to have Veners and acclimated with an open circle fleet skins while under command of heroes like Anakin? That's actually what we're going to do with Veners and Yularen. I know this is a niche unit. Will the Aqua droids be in the mod? No. Republic hero ship get something... Get like capital... Republic hero get ship like capital ship? There are some capital ship heroes. Will Mon Calamari be an infantry speeder only map? No. Yeah, I need to spend money. All right, there we go. I've caught up on the messages.
Constructing. Beginning construction. Beginning construction.
And HMS Helgenstad. Helga?
Building under construction. Recruiting troops.
We really need more ground production.
Building under construction.
I guess that works. Did you make the mines in the north? There are at least 2 more worlds where they can be built. This isn't Republic at War. I didn't make the trade stations, but you don't get those mines that Republic at War has. Alright, Yularen. We need that back.
Tactical battle imminent.
Let that fleet go. Oh, there it is.
Cruiser ready.
Just went a weird direction. Alright, this is now going to have to be Anakin's army.
Tactical battle imminent.
Kidonia Moidia. I just took this. Don't do this to me. Oh, this is fine. Will Dooku's merry band of Dark Jedi be added as heroes to fill the CSU roster? Some of them are in Severance Tan, Asajj Ventress, Sword Bulk. Not everyone will
We've
be.
located the enemy. What can I do? There we go. Going in.
Base
Can
is
I help?
under attack.
Right.
Will the Moonlands 10 be in Fall of the Republic? Again, there are so many options for hero units for the Republic. We haven't made many specific choices on what we'd add in the future. It'll depend on story elements that we do and what makes sense for those. So we have, other than what I've already said with like Ahsoka, Rex, Cody, and Plo Koon, or Coyote Mundi rather, then we don't really have much specific information we can give on that.
Construction complete.
Stay together. Follow behind me. Let's go.
There's a core planet Vulptor that's level 3 or 4 shipyard. We're on the space map. Yeah, there's a few maps that need some edits like that. We're redoing a lot of the aesthetics for space battles currently. That'll include figuring out like reworks or different props and positionings for everything. So
Following your lead.
there's a lot of maps to edit, but we're slowly trying to make our way through all that stuff. Next TapCaf, we're going to be talking about Dark Empire, and that'll be this Thursday. So mod release on Thursday at midnight, like Wednesday at midnight going into Thursday. So that, and then TapCaf later that night. It's a busy week. Will Coyote Mundi have the Galactic Marine skin? We've we're hoping to do as many Legion skins as we reasonably can. So if he gets added as a hero, then they're very likely to show up. So many B1s. Oh, they're starting to send in the real units now.
I'm here. Ready to help. Moving out. Heading out. Need any assistance? Right away.
Right, we need some civilians to come back and build some turrets. Was that an orbital bombardment on that? Or did that just explode and I didn't really see what was happening?
Come on!
Alright, repair platform.
Repair station constructing.
Is Ahsoka in this? Not yet. She is one of the potential future heroes.
Turret constructing.
Let's go. Closing range.
Construction
Let's
complete.
do this. For our brother.
Oh shit.
Unit destroyed.
Damn you.
There we go. Starting kill streak.
Turret constructing.
Come on!
Unit destroyed.
Take out. Thanks for coming out. I'm seeing you move past commit 3 on the beta, so yeah, I've got another. Yeah, there was beta 4, and then there's been a few updates since that. There's probably going to be one more push, probably tonight, after we do some of the additional sector force changes, which pretty significantly changes what goes on, but there's still a few changes we need to make that. Actually saved relatively recently, I know, but thank you very much for the donation. I'm probably going to save either after this battle or the next one, but yeah, we saved right before Order 66.
Point sweep. I've got point. Taking vanguard. Follow me. Concentrate assault. Missiles go up. Going in tight. Now. Stop and firing.
There are units down that way on the galactic map. So you don't see the stuff that they start the battle with. It's kind of unreliable, Empire War in that way. But
Unit destroyed.
no. All right,
Gravity control
we
generator
lost.
destroyed. System lost.
They really started pushing back, and I don't like it. All right, let's see what we can do.
Constructing.
I want to build everywhere on you. My Gito 2.
Building under construction. Building under construction.
Dantooine, here
Beginning
comes
construction.
you.
Building cancelled.
Actually, need a barracks too.
Constructing.
Camino.
Constructing. Recruiting soldiers.
What do we have in this? It's actually not a horrible ground army.
Building under construction. Beginning construction.
I'm just gonna load up Rothana with some ground production there. And I just want to kill the Trade Federation.
Roger.
Well, let's get this fleet together.
Tactical battle imminent.
Moving.
Heading for coordinates.
Tactical battle imminent.
At what?
Construction complete.
Telti. Oh, they've started to get bulwarks too. I didn't even notice that. I feel like they shouldn't have it. Is the AI you have as brutal as the one in Republic at War? So Republic at War and Awakening the Rebellion, they have pretty high credit multipliers and build speed multipliers, which we don't do as a default, but we do have Cruel AI, which is a way to turn that on. So let's get this Praetor right there. Big Chungus as well. Wheeler.
Setting course.
Warlock. Yep.
Right away.
Aggressive negotiations. So it's not that way by default, but even on Cruel, we don't just free spawn units.
Reporting.
Everything they get, they build.
Fire on those laser
But
cannons.
you do have the you have essentially 6 difficulty levels. So we have the basic AI types that are what the mod is designed around. But then if you really want
Reporting in.
the unending waves of units, you have that option.
Disable their engines.
Any idea on release date for the non-beta? That is planned to be Wednesday night to Thursday if we can.
Destroy the engines.
Copy that. Take out their engines.
Direct fire on the engines.
What CIS heroes are in? There was a full list of them posted a while ago. You can see on mod database if you look there. I can't really list off all 18 right now, but it's probably not even 18. Are there any more planned AI changes you have, or have you done all you can at this point? A lot of AI changes are still ongoing. Bob especially does whatever he can with it as he figures stuff out and as goals change and as like new stuff gets added. Like the CIS ally system involves some pretty heavy AI modifications, and the New Republic is going to have similar stuff in Thrawn's Revenge, so there's stuff related to that. But yeah, that's something that's always going to be going on. Unfortunately, I can't do the space battles against them right now because the units aren't targetable. That bug was fixed when we started beta, but not in time for this playthrough.
All ahead. Construction complete.
So easy to lose track of how much money I have. It's going to be impossible to spend all of it at one point. But let's get Sunny Side Up, Immortal Betty White, and Republic Pride.
Unit. Construction complete.
And let's get to this business on Cadonia Moidia.
Complete.
Yeah, the beta is still up, but at this point I honestly recommend people who weren't already in the beta to just wait for the release version. We have about as much actionable feedback as we are going to get, and so at this point, for people's own enjoyment, it's better just wait the few extra days and play it closer to how it's intended to be. Like, the mod is never finished, but thank you, Thomas. So thank you, Thomas Schmidt, for the £5 donation, as well as El Dunarino for the $5 donation. Thank you so much for all the hard work on the mod. We appreciate it. Short ask, when do you think the full release will be on Steam? The plan is on Wednesday night at midnight, so Thursday morning, if everything goes according to plan. Which, so far, so good, but why were senators wanting more clones even though it takes 10 years to grow? Do they really think the war would last that long? There were ways to accelerate the growth, especially the ones that were made during the war. They were a lot more accelerated. So it wasn't really the full gestation period. You could talk about like who was better or worse at that point. And there were some that just wanted the army as well. Can you explain the differences of the cruel AI between each difficulty level? So there's the basic differences between AI levels, which is more about behavior. So there are some things that the AI does on hard, easy, and medium that are different, like the amount of times the player needs to win before it'll attack again, and that's done per faction as well. Which is why sometimes it can seem more overwhelming than it actually is in like Thrawn's Revenge and as the Republic, because you'll get attacked 5 times, it'll seem like you're just getting steamrolled, which is kind of what we're going through right now. But it'll actually be a while before they'll all attack again. It's just because there are 5 factions to deal with. So on easy, there's more requirements for the player winning before the AI will feel like it can attack again. On medium, there's less of that. There's some, like, it changes the amount of units they'll use for an attack. So easy's going to attack with fewer units, medium's going to attack with more, hard with the most. And then those rules are all kept on Cruel. So you can play easy Cruel, and it's probably going to be harder than on Admiral because they're building more units, but their rules for attacking are actually the same. So,
System control achieved.
easy Cruel will attack with the same stuff as regular easy, but they'll be able to rebuild more quickly.
Constructing.
So there's effectively 6 different difficulty levels in the mod.
Construction complete.
Will the Admirals ever get ship upgrades? Not for the Republic. They're usually on their identifiable flagships. With Grievous, he has an upgrade system.
Crews are online.
Construction complete.
Just adding the 327th with Ayla Secura.
Tactical battle.
Most Jedi eventually will end up with a flagship or with a Legion, but it depends more on the work that goes into it and us wanting to keep the mod
Battle imminent.
unlaggy. God damn it. I'm gonna have to retreat, and then I'll save. Corey, what's your view on the Harrower? I know it's old, but I think it's as a ship. What do you think of it? I don't love it, don't hate it. It's never really been one of my favorite ships. There's a lot more ships from that period that I like a lot more. Will you include the 200 neutral systems led by Mandalore? Neutral systems are not really something EAW does well. Like Mandalore and Mandalorian systems will be there, but the actual CNS, I think it was, we don't get much information on who is on it, so.
Lander reporting.
Huh. And then, like, there's other planets that are usually more important to the actual war, so. It'll all depend. How will we make feedback? Because I've had the AT-AT glitch on TR for a long time. It could be. Can find where to feedback. It might have. The bugs we usually do reports on Discord, because that's the easiest thing to keep track of.
Tactical battle imminent.
But what AT-AT bug?
Closing range.
Construction complete.
Alright, let's get over to Umbara. I'll move these guys over, and I'm going to send them to Karita.
Fall out.
I know there's not
Tactical
the
battle
best composition in that. Alright, that's just ground units mostly.
There we go.
Will you ever do your own raw mod or Stellaris mod? My own raw mod? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Will you ever do a Stellaris mod? That is not likely. Will Deathwatch be a part of the PUD or Bounty Hunter faction? They have some potential to show up in some places. Will you give Windu the 91st recon? Windu will have his own Legion. The skin is done for it, him and Yoda already. It's just not in the mod. Because we don't want to overpile it with stuff.
imminent.
It's actually quite the fleet. Once there's more ways to bump up the influence, Josh, then we're likely to increase the price. Because right now it's just the only one of the only ways you can really do it. That in one mission per faction. So we don't want it too gated. Are there any plans for missions hunting down Jedi after Order 66? We do plan to have a Operation Nightfall mission, and then we'll see
Roger that.
for other stuff beyond that. I don't know if we'll do any for like specific Jedi. Meant his own take on the Republic at War mod. I mean, like, Fall of the Republic is our Clone Wars mod. That's what you're watching right now. I don't know what else would be our take on it. Like, the mod I'm playing right now is essentially our take on Republic at War.
Location plotted.
Are there any future plans for the Ascensi mod? Yep. Just haven't had much time to work on it, and the stuff that needs to be done isn't really the stuff that's usually in my wheelhouse, like UI design.
Cruiser ready.
Form up. Right away.
I'm on them. Heavy
Excellent
cruiser
shot.
standing by.
Awaiting orders.
Got one on me.
I got one.
Got one on
Let's
me.
see. I don't know how well we're equipped to deal with this. But who do we have here? Nothing to dread here. Hey, I didn't get lost.
Cruiser standing by.
Guacamole cheese. Slutty hyena.
Dreadnought cruiser ready.
Uwu.
I need help.
Advo-Katan. Thunderchild. Artist Accord. Audible. Judge Renat.
Captain here.
Alright. Lucre Hulk.
Reporting.
I'm gonna get Venerable Venator
Where'd he go?
Firing.
to focus on the Recusants, and I'll get
All
these two to do that as well.
Nowhere to run.
Affirmative.
I can't see him.
cruisers standing by.
Alright, we need powder weapons.
Maximum firepower.
Draw their
Primary
fire.
engine system is down.
I got it.
Our launch bay has been disabled.
Are you actually spawning ICs? I don't think we've had one yet, but it hasn't been many weeks since we
Our lasers have been
got
destroyed.
the thingy.
I need help.
Captain here.
I got one on me.
Dreadnought cruiser ready.
Detected.
Heavy cruiser standing by.
formation. I need help. Go after the stragglers. I need help.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it.
Star Cruiser here.
Another attack.
Glad you like the look of it.
Standing by. Enemies in range. Our engines
I
are
can't
out.
see him.
Captain here.
I got one on me.
Alright, that needs to die.
Destroy those lasers.
And we need the quad down on there.
Dreadnought cruiser ready. Heavy cruiser standing by.
Commander, they're hitting us.
Captain here.
Where'd he go?
Queen Amidala's Revenge back off a bit.
Cruiser ready.
You as well. I'm gonna try to
Standing by.
amble my way up towards the north.
Ready to go, sir.
Waiting orders.
And Venerable Venator is gonna have to do some tanking for us here.
I'm losing.
Disable their engines.
Get the engines on that.
Attack formation.
And
Here. All
the
guns.
Recusant now.
Destroy those lasers.
So you guys are just gonna keep on hitting that.
Reporting.
The Recusant is kind of the biggest damage dealer
Got one on me.
in the group at the moment.
Dreadnought cruiser ready.
More enemy craft.
Fire for
There we go.
Taking fire. Commander, they're hitting us.
On standby.
Where'd he go?
Destroy those lasers. Copy that.
Heavy cruiser
Sorry.
standing by.
Nowhere to
It
run.
was probably loud.
Captain
Falling
here.
out of
Alright, move
formation.
up this way.
I've been hit. Draw their fire.
Open
Well, even on the tankiest of ships, any individual hardpoint is only going to have
Formation.
a couple hundred health. So if it's getting focused by multiple ships especially, then they don't last long.
Standing by.
Regroup for another attack. I've lost engine two.
Is there a chance of the Maelstrom in the mod? Yep. The Maelstrom is just a ship, like we need to come up with a design for it. So it takes longer, but it is definitely on the list of stuff we want to do.
Standing by.
Along with death clones, because we don't want that kind of stuff happening anymore.
Falling out of formation.
But those are also lower priority.
Draw their fire. Sir, I've detected.
Wow, that getting called out. Alright. We lost Aerol to Palpatine. I didn't even realize we had an Acclamator in the fleet. So, I'm a good commander. Do you know any of the Old Republic mods? I used to work on Ages of Star Wars. There was a lot of overlap between the Thrawn's Revenge team and the Ages of Star Wars team back in the day. So we have all the models from before it died. Or actually, no, we don't. We have all the models from its initial release. There are unfortunately a lot of really good models that we don't have access to because they were lost on various hard drive crashes that Code User had, unfortunately. Well, you had damage indicated from hardpoints. Yeah, just like the base game does. It's just there's a lot of content in the mod. That stuff takes a lot of time. We have like hundreds of units to go through. There are some units that have it, some that don't. We're going to be redoing a lot of visual effects and applying that stuff as we go. Is Ahsoka in the mod? She's not in yet. She will be. And Richard, glad you're enjoying Tapcaf too. What role would the Maelstrom hold in the Republic fleet? It's kind of, I think it was like kind of a carrier, right, Nolan? I forget. It's been a while since I looked at the stats after like 73 conversations about it. I just block it from my mind right now until we have to make concrete decisions on it. If you're still here, Nolan. Oh right, there's a fleet at Balamac. We kind of sacrificed everything out here except Mon Calamari. which I'm surprised has lasted as long as it has. Okay, let's get Errol of Palpatine back on Mount Calamari. And what are we looking at with this? Militarily, we're actually ahead of the Confederacy. But there's still 4 Trade Federation planets, 3 Techno-Union planets, but we've got 2 blockaded. The Commerce Guild is actually a pretty big threat, and there's one Banking Clan planet. Let's actually scout this out. Let's see what we can do.
Let's go.
Karita... Alright, that's probably the ground units coming for Karita. So we'll do Roche, and then we're going to do Ordrazi. How far will the tech go ship-wise? The mod only covers the Clone Wars right now. Are the Republic repulsor tanks going to be in the mod? The Falchion things? I don't know. It's a difficult unit to represent an Empire at War because of what it does. Corey, if Revan's Revenge goes through, would the time period be set during the Cold War, Great Galactic War, during Revan's period? It'd likely cover in some way from the Mandalorian Wars all the way up to Tor. Because usually what the Falchion thing does is it's an ion weapon that aims weirdly, so
Choose your reinforcements.
it's a little odd. All right, let's drop in.
We'll be there soon. Moving out. Heading out. Fall out.
Back here.
Let's move out. Proceeding to coordinates.
Reinforcements cancelled.
If they want to come to us, they can come to us.
Moving into position. Carrick en route.
But I definitely want to deal with their structures. Because after this,
Reinforcements cancelled.
the Banking Clan is basically out of the game.
Carrick en route.
Or is entirely out of the game. And the Techno Union is very close to being out of the
What are
game.
your orders? Understood.
Copy.
Attack formation.
Roger.
Target.
But let's try to make
locked.
sure we don't get pinched in here.
Charge laser cannons.
Go after the stragglers.
I copy. We're in position.
So taking out the station is actually the highest priority.
Orders.
For another attack. They're coming in quick.
At your command.
Keeping our CR90s up front.
I have them now.
Will you add heroes that are more notable in pure Civil War era but stayed at veteran Clone Wars? Yeah, there's a few hero options we're talking about, especially as flavor choices between the 2 branches of the Republic, so Order 65 and 66, to sort of replenish the late game heroes. So Marissa Zinj is actually someone we've talked a lot about who is very likely to show up. We just need a portrait for her.
Yes, sir. Flight systems engaged.
And we're trying to do as many we're trying to find as many varied options for heroes as we can. Because other than that, there's a lot of just Venator Hero 73 right now. So some of the ones that are in the mod right now are probably going to get cut along the way. We probably won't need to keep Wheeler, Barton Coburn. We'll decide which ones stay and go. But
I'm losing.
sorry.
They took out our lasers.
Are there any Easter eggs found in the game that people have not found yet? Not yet.
The torpedo launcher has
Well,
been destroyed.
there's some, but
Attacking. Come about.
Falling out of
generally stuff that was already in Tron's Revenge, and people are somewhat aware of.
Let's go.
What are your orders?
Been ready, sir.
I want to do the Edge of Despair crew as a Easter egg in Tron's Revenge, but
Carrick commander here. Charge laser cannons.
attack formation.
Attacking.
on the planet Hakasi, if you drop an AT-AT in the trees and deploy stormtroopers, yeah, so that, I'm pretty sure that's a base game bug we can't really do anything about. So people, I guess, can exploit it to their heart's content, and
Coming back around.
yeah.
Standing by. Ready to fire.
Target
What are your orders?
I've been hit. Our engines are destroyed, sir. I can't see him. I've lost engine 2.
I'm losing.
I need help.
More enemy craft.
I've been hit.
Excellent.
The rich for what? Hans?
Taking
Hey, Hannes.
Locking on.
I know you said the other way was acceptable, but I'm trying my best here.
Commander, they're hitting us.
Charge laser cannons.
Where'd he go? Nowhere to run. Falling out of formation. Can't see him. Draw their fire.
You can influence the mailer up to 10. You can build Kadalbi. Yeah, the Kadalbi is like there will be some era appropriate influence rewards, but Kadalbis are much later ships.
Charge laser cannons.
More enemy craft. Enemies
Go on
in
me.
range. Taking fire.
Our launch bay has been disabled.
Yeah, the CIS has, I think it's within 1 or 2 heroes right now
What are your orders?
of the Republic,
Attacking.
and we're trying to keep it as close as possible. But the Republic obviously has a lot of possible sources for heroes,
Commander, they're hitting us.
so we're gonna try to
What
balance
are your orders?
roughly how many are available at any given time. But the Republic will definitely, in the long run, end up with
Where'd he go?
Target priority is the laser
Nowhere to
cannon.
run.
more options that way. But the CIS has stuff like Dirge and
Formation.
Grievous, who can die several times. Like it's possible to have Grievous die like dozens of times and not actually leave.
Go after the stragglers. Regroup for another attack.
Charge laser cannons.
See, I don't mind if this fleet entirely dies, because it was a fleet that I wasn't aware I had up until a few minutes ago. But if I can just get rid of the entire banking clan, that'd be great.
Come about.
I'm losing.
Our lasers have been destroyed.
Eliminating
The
target.
torpedo launcher has been destroyed. Been hit.
I got. I need help. Where'd he go?
Make all ships more powerful. And well, we're pretty happy with the general pacings of the battle.
Falling out of formation.
General pacing of the battles, though, because we want people to be able to react to what's actually going on. Right now, the only thing that's significantly off on that we feel is how long it takes to kill some smaller ships, just because of accuracy changes that didn't get some health changes along with them. So, like with my Empire of the Hand playthrough, where the massive fleets of frigates have been difficult to kill.
Go on me.
I copy, sir.
Nowhere to run.
But other than that, we don't want to make it to like ISDs die slower or faster and stuff.
Been hit.
I need help. Draw their fire.
Does the mod have super weapons? Or won't be? So super weapons are something that we don't like having in Empire War, like planet destruction, because with the influence system, it's something that'll show up a little bit in Thrawn's Revenge, but Fall of the Republic, like the Clone Wars, doesn't really have many super weapons like that, and like stuff like the Dark Reaper wouldn't be a high priority.
Our lasers have been destroyed.
I'm losing.
Are you gonna put the Mandator capital ship for the Republic? Yes, eventually. We just need to make a design for it, so it won't be in the first release.
Tactical battle imminent.
Right. Oh, so they were sending that from way over there. That's why it took so long. There. Should have moderator now, hands. What contents of the Clone Wars will you be using? Do you mean like the show? There's a few heroes, a few units, like the AB7s from Clone Wars, Malevolence from the Clone Wars. There's a lot.
Invasion commencing.
Sanity Love the Purple Berries. Yeah, that is unfortunately lost to
Choose your reinforcements.
the world and to time now. Okay, let's use some arcs. Anakin and some arcs.
Let's do this. Sonic kill sweep. 4 hours rocket. There we go. Now we're talking.
I sense conflict within you.
Now, he's talking about the droid log that used to show up here with like little tips and stuff that in Thrawn's Revenge would cause a lot of lag because there'd be such a backlog with all the factions we have, not the actual like voice. Will the Republic be getting the Procurator or Procurator? So it's the Republic one is the Procurator. We will be doing it eventually, but much like the Mandator, we need to make a design, so it's not going to be in initially.
Getting hostile. Going in.
Sense conflict within you.
Size means nothing to the Force.
The release will be an early version on Steam. No, it's not an early version. Like the release is the release. It'll happen on Steam and Mod Database at the same time, and it'll be version 0.5, but it won't be considered like early access or beta. It's just version 0.5.
Where the fun begins. I heard you were looking for a Jedi. One's gonna kill me.
Obi-Wan is kind of busy right now, not existing. Crap.
Sense conflict.
Anakin is frozen. Frozen? Frozen? Will you be able to capture ships? Not as the Republican CIS. When the Republican CIS did boarding actions, it wasn't like the later periods where everyone was just trying to get every ship they could. It was a lot more valuable to factions during the Clone Wars to have the standardized equipment, and they had much larger manufacturing bases. So thematically, it makes more sense to not have that be a thing. And then if and when we do a faction like the Hutts, they can board and steal ships.
Yes, Commander. Gold Squadron commencing attack.
Use tactics to your advantage to gain an upper hand over the enemy.
On site, ready to assist.
Then don't have sexual relations with that enemy.
Enemies in range.
Come out. Follow behind me.
Alright, we need to repair things.
Station
Sense
constructing.
conflict within you.
Close range assault.
Yep, there were things like planetary turbo lasers. Right now we're just using the stock HV gun and ion cannon because that's what's...
Construction complete.
I've got a very bad feeling about this. Great.
Well, Anakin is
Closing range.
perma-stuck. Alright, just have to protect him until the next battle. Or until the end of the battle.
Let's get your butt.
I remember when it first came to ICW years ago, space lasers seemed denser and more vivid. Coming back to it now, it's all been trimmed back. Well, there used to be a lot more projectiles flying across the map, which was a big source of lag and looked super fucking messy. The projectiles now just look better, and there's less lag because they move faster and there's fewer on the map at any given time. So performance was a big consideration, visuals was another big consideration. It used to look like a just hailstorm of lasers. And we're doing another rework of the visuals for that kind of thing coming up soon for both mods, but it'll be more in line with what's there now than the old teardrop style massive hails of shit. After Order 66, is there a way to get the specialized clone units that would typically come from Jedi? No, just Vader's fist. Because Vader's still fisting people there. Don't think about that too much. Alright, let's try to get this.
Follow behind me.
This should be fun.
Come out. There you go. Let's go. Let's get your butt. Closing range.
For 3 well, there are going to be influence-related rewards for like certain local units, just like in Thrawn's Revenge. So that will be a thing, but right now the concern is getting the basic rosters done, rather than all that. Like we don't want to delay the mod forever while adding that kind of stuff. That's the kind of thing that we can add pretty easily in patches, and as we balance out the rest of the mod.
available.
tight. Let's go.
Alright, so let's hunt down stuff.
Ready. Computer's locked on target.
Damn, I overestimated how fast they'd go.
Let's get through. Let's do this.
They should probably retreat soon, though. I think it's just this bunker
Right swing. I've got
that they're
points.
staying for.
For our brothers. Going in. Taking vanguard. Follow me. Follow behind me.
Yeah, we're good.
System conquered. Beginning construction.
It's getting frustrating watching this old build. I mean, that's kind of just how it always is. Whole point is to show development in progress. Sometimes that means dealing with
Constructing.
older issues.
Construction complete.
Star Destroyer
This is the way.
Unit in
We
production.
can now build whatever we want.
Vehicle in production. Unit in production. Constructing unit.
Okay, we want to build that up as much as possible. And I think we're going to send Yularen's fleet into Contrum.
Tactical battle imminent.
Cruiser online.
Tactical battle imminent.
Let's move out.
The Trade Federation is pretty much all dealt with. Where is Telti? I keep forgetting where Telti is. Thought it was closer to this side, but... Telti, where are you? Telti. Oh, that one. Alright, Karita.
Let's go.
Construction complete. Tactical battle imminent.
God damn it. Oh, Dooku's there too.
Gravity control generator destroyed.
Could you do a no pause playthrough? That makes it very difficult to look at things like chat.
Dreadnought cruiser ready.
Being attacked auto pauses the playthrough too.
All ahead.
Alright, let's see. I'm gonna let them come to us, because they will.
Command.
Because they will. The Sunny said, you have entered the scary door.
Right away. Yes,
Which one are you? This is Venerable Venator. Imagine, if you will, a Venator adjacent to a location.
All out. Let's move out.
Any chance of eventually seeing the SPH-AT, or is it something that would be too difficult to implement with how Grand Commodore works? It's a very difficult unit to do properly in Empire at War. Maybe it'll show up in some form, but it's not likely.
In here. Standing by.
Maybe as like a prop on like certain mission maps, but having it actually function is yeah.
Stay in formation.
Star cruiser standing
Because especially with the way that the unit fires, like it's more. The thing you see it doing in the movies is like shooting down the drop ships, the hard cells, which obviously isn't really a thing in Empire at War. So like, just try to imagine an SPH-AT trying to trying to fire straight line fire at an infantry unit. when it's the size of a A6
Heavy
or slightly
cruiser
bigger.
standing by.
Can you do an Elmo voice? I've never really tried. No, it'd probably just end up being Kermit.
On standby.
I don't have that much vocal range.
Away.
Really, Marlon Brando,
Dreadnought cruiser ready.
Kermit, and Bill Clinton are the only impressions that I'm comfortable with right now.
Moving out. Heading out.
Heavy cruiser standing by.
Yeah, Yularen will probably have the beam weapon ability, probably after some research, though.
All guns
Uh,
fire. Firing turbo
Oh
releases.
man, CIS.
Fire for effect.
What about a defoliator? That'd again depend on how well it works in the game.
Cruiser reporting.
Tactical battle imminent.
Course in space. I think we got intercepted there, so we need to manually head down to Contrim.
Star Cruiser here.
Closing range.
Receiving location.
This isn't exactly what I wanted to do, but
Construction complete. Constructing unit.
I think focusing on the Trade Federation is better for now. If you take over certain planets, will you take certain special units? I answered this a couple times, but you'll get the ability if you get enough influence on planets, just like in Thrawn's Revenge, to build certain units on certain planets, but not in the first build because we are focusing on the core units or the core rosters for
Navigating.
each faction.
Heading out.
On my way. I copy. Confirmed.
So eventually Umbara will have some units for the CIS. Naboo will have some units for the Republic. There are some planets that'll require influence, some that'll be just innate parts of having the planet in the faction. But there'll be more details on that later as we start getting to the point where that becomes more of a focus.
Right away. Heading out. All out. Standing by.
Alright, we need to kill this Recusant.
Draw their fire.
You make a Venator that drops ATTEs on asteroids. That'd be. I have some ideas for stuff that I've just played with a little bit,
Ready, sir.
but I can't. Effectively, the answer is no right now.
Y-wing squadron.
But yeah,
I got one. Deploying squadron. Attack formation. Go after the stragglers.
Carrot commander here.
abilities are an area where we haven't done a ton of. Like we have some cool, like unique ones in the mod, like boarding and single unit retreat that
Getting a lock.
are interesting, and we want to make sure that abilities we add are like continuing along that line of stuff that isn't just like renaming powered weapons and throwing it a bunch of places. There will be a bit of that, but we want to explore a lot of options for unique abilities in both mods, ultimately.
Target priority is the laser cannons.
Copy that.
Target
Alright, we need to stop Yularen from getting bombed.
Engine 2. For the Empire. Awaiting orders. The lasers are our target. Our target priority is the laser cannons. Our engines are destroyed, sir.
Weapons
Copy.
online.
I need help. The lasers are our target. I've lost engine 2.
Commander, they're hitting us.
I need help.
Reporting.
Yularen's fleet probably could use an upgrade. We don't actually have that much with him. I thought it was bigger than it is.
Get behind them. Where'd he go? See him. Nowhere to run.
What is shooting? Oh, the Recusant is just nuking him. Alright. Well, he's dead.
Falling out of
There's nothing I can do about it. I should have moved him back earlier, but I didn't. And now they're all rushing him. I thought they wouldn't.
attack formation. Need help. Go after the stragglers.
Rip.
Regroup for another attack.
If you wipe out a faction and TR control all of their planets, they can by the hand, will you be able to build some of their ships? No. We put a lot of work into making the rosters as unique as possible. So stuff like the units that you can start building with influence they're typically not stuff that's available to a playable faction. There's some that gets grandfathered in, like the Hapen units, but it's a lot of like what people say with the Emperor, like, oh, well, why can't I build all the Greater Maldruid units as the Emperor? Like, we made those units in the first place so that the factions would have different stuff available, different play styles, and we don't want to cut into that too much. You can already get those units by using boarding. We don't want to just turn it into a bunch of stuff that's like doubled up and wasted. Alright, so that was a horrible battle.
Navigating to coordinates.
Enemy fleet approaching.
Closing range.
I'm on it.
Cruiser here.
Battle imminent.
Shit. I should have known there was stuff coming there.
Gravity control generator destroyed.
No, we don't want to move that
Enemy
one.
fleet approaching.
On our way.
Tactical battle imminent.
I wonder. Yay.
Let's go.
Could any veteran that's in the same fleet as Anakin have the SPAT beam as research and that? No, so the abilities, you can't have them be like that. The abilities are just the unit has them or not. Things like the skin we can do, but that's it.
Tactical battle imminent.
This is going to lose us those units. Oh well. Oh, it didn't. All right. Well, we want to bring these guys back down here.
On my way.
Constructing
Nope,
unit.
that's not what I wanted.
Beginning construction. Building
How do
started.
I kind of want to build the debug structure. If you could make all the lightsaber heroes to do the little lightsaber duel thing from Vanilla Empire War with relatively little work, would you do? I mean, if we could do it with relatively little work, sure. But the problem is it's not relatively little work. I'm gonna send this fleet over to Mimban.
We'll be there soon.
There's a lot we'd do if it was relatively little work.
Moving to sector.
All right, we need to spend this money.
Constructing.
No, I won't spend. I won't build KDY. Let's get
Constructing.
more Venators. When in doubt, spam Venators.
Unit in production. Constructing unit.
Vehicle in production.
And we need Anakin's army to go too far any other direction here. Well, let's start rebuilding it. Kuat. The X-Crew, Dorky, Nerd, Pupper, and Himbo. You think I'm the only dorky nerd of the three of us? Yeah, this is probably gonna be... might be the second last of the playthrough. No, this is probably the last episode of the playthrough. By the time, like, the stream is still gonna be going for a bit, so... Especially with the ever-present risk of 2 weeks of credits ending the ability to save.
Gunboat here, sir. Advancing.
I just hope we get,
Tactical battle imminent.
Oh, I should have played that one. Damn it.
Construction complete.
Oh, the Confederacy have conquered Mimban, Umbara, Contrim, and Emberline.
Complete.
So the Trade Federation was just integrated. Right as I was about to invade them, which is actually really shitty for them. Alright, this is like every Confederacy hero, I think. I think Dooku, Sora, Ventress. Is it possible to limit the number of one ship based on how many of a different ship you have? So, for example, one Praetor for 20 veterans? No. You can't have, like, context ones like that.
Choose your reinforcements.
Skywalker.
Alright, Anakin, this is...
Closing range.
Heading out.
This is what you trained for.
Heading out.
Maximum unit
Nobody
capacity.
told me it was gonna be this easy.
Can you please build a reveal structure? Yeah, I'll probably do it after this.
Constructing.
On site and ready to assist.
You can't hide in there.
I've got a very bad feeling about this.
Alright, now I want this...
There we go.
Construction complete.
Now we're talking. Charge!
I heard you were looking for a Jedi.
Okay. Anakin, this is what your life was leading up to.
Mining facility destroyed.
Yeah, Fall of the Republic isn't out yet, Patrickson. It'll be released hopefully during this week.
I'm getting tired of this.
Alright, there's some MTT trains going on.
Nobody told me it was gonna be this easy. I've got a very bad feeling about this.
Oh no, you can't do that one.
I'm getting
Get out of there.
tired this.
Close range assault.
Okay, good job. You killed the mine.
Missile show up.
Now kill some MTTs.
Up and firing.
I sense conflict.
Anakin, get ready for a duel with some backup there.
Let's go. Closing range.
Right, something is actually shooting it. Oh, there's the other magnet.
Starting kill sweep.
My
Going
bad.
in tight. Now. Going in.
Get out of there. They are dropping their droids.
Follow me hard and fast. Let's do this.
This is Skywalker.
Right, Anakin. The Anakin Ventress duel of the century. Apparently, Dooku's also there.
I am most displeased.
The animations are just resetting. Dooku's dead. Thank you, heal structure and lat support.
On site and ready to assist.
For our brothers.
This lesson brought to you by the Utapau mission in Republic of War.
Take this much longer.
Looking for
Alright.
a Jedi.
Sora,
Nobody told me
you're
it was
next.
gonna be this easy.
There we go. Getting
I
hostile.
sense conflict within you. Wait, this is it.
Bombing run available.
This is Skywalker.
I don't want to risk him just getting fucking yeeted in 3 shots. No, don't do that.
Your orders? Gold Squadron commencing attack.
Commencing bombing run.
Will there not be fog of war in ground battles? There is fog of war. It's just the after a certain point in the battles, the AI has more or less given up, and you get it revealed. And since they had no structures here, that hit a lot earlier. All right, Anakin, show them the power of the dark side.
Be your tomb.
Let's go. With you, trooper. Charge!
Sense conflict within you. I'm getting tired of this. Nobody told me it was gonna
Let's
be
do
this
this.
easy.
All right, Sora. I don't want to.
Very bad feeling about this. I'm getting tired of this.
Here, follow Anakin.
It's gonna be this easy.
Closing range. Starting assault.
This is Skywalker.
Yeah, this is what you want.
Very bad
Everyone, back off.
Closing
site,
range.
ready to assist.
No, don't scare Sora away.
Starting kill sweep.
I heard you were looking for a Jedi.
Now we're talking.
Here we go.
I sense conflict within you. Great. I'm getting tired of this. Nobody told me it was gonna be this easy.
You guys are don't. You're just in the way. And Lats, I think he's just healing off of you right now.
This is Skywalker.
Bombardier is
Put
available.
all that Jedi training to good use.
See, all Jedi duels would have been much better if they just happened in the back to tank.
Planetary control achieved.
Alright.
Star Cruiser here.
Come on. No.
Tactical battle imminent.
Let's see if we can kill anything with this. Then we'll just bring Tarkin's fleet back in. Then I'll save, and I'll turn on the debug structure. After that, that lets us see what's going on everywhere.
What are your orders?
So we got another stream coming up tonight still.
En route.
Carrot Commander here.
But I don't want to
Try not
stop.
to let one on your tail.
I'm going to keep the party going.
En route.
Carrick en route.
Alright, let's get back to the station.
Reporting.
Reinforcements en route.
Ready to go, sir.
Locking on.
All fighters
Alright,
engaged.
let's wipe out those bombers.
Form up.
Let's get a CR-90 over there as well.
All power to the engine. Moving out.
TIE squadron here. Reporting in. Ready for action. Station ready.
Awaiting
I have
orders.
them now.
Full speed.
I'm on them.
Alright,
Crews are online.
you guys turn around, because we're going to try to kill these diamonds
Cruiser ready.
as they come in.
Cruiser standing by.
Bombers. at the
Bombers, stay back.
Copy.
I've got them
Yes,
in
sir.
my sights.
They might retreat, but
Dreadnought cruiser ready.
Enemies in
yeah,
range.
that one just made it.
Coming back around for
Firing
another
turbo
one.
releases.
Orbital command available.
Because I am curious how the corporate sector is
Getting
doing.
your command. Receiving
What are
message.
your orders? Moving to sector. Carrot Commander here.
Target
Heavy
locked.
cruiser standing
Eliminating
by.
target.
Alright, I'm going to use power to weapons while we're
I've been hit.
waiting.
Fire for effect.
Fire.
Target
Captain
locked.
here.
Because I don't want to use that against the Providences. They'll probably
All guns.
Intercepting.
break through our shields too quickly, but we can do a lot against these anti-fighter ships. And at the very least, that'll soften them up for Tarkin. Will Sabaoth destroyers be in the mod? Yeah, so the Sabaoth fleet, we actually have a lot of the models done for that, no textures, but they should actually be in a lot earlier than I expected we get to them. Not for the first release, though.
I got one.
What will be the stream after this? I'm going to be doing Jackbox tonight. That's in 3 hours, so need to be done by then, especially because I do need to eat at some point today.
Fire. Firing turbo releases.
Pox wanted to do some Sunday night modding, but
Target.
between this stream and Jackbox, I don't think there's going to be a chance.
Need help.
Decoding
Need
target.
help.
Yeah.
Primary engine system is down.
Cruiser standing by.
They're coming in quick.
Fire for effect.
Your order, sir.
Because we're probably still going to be going for a while here.
Our target priority is the laser cannons.
What's your favorite Star Destroyer class? Precursor? I don't know.
Coming around.
Yeah, I'll probably be doing Monday Night Modding tomorrow. Will the Separatists gain the ability to hire bounty hunters to help them fight off Jedi in a future version? Maybe some bounty hunters like Jango Fett, Cad Bane. They'll probably get some bounty hunter heroes, but they're not going to be like used against. Like, Jedi aren't going to really be vulnerable to them.
On my way.
They're,
Enemies in range.
They've destroyed our torpedo launcher. Cruiser
they'd have to have just like really fucking stupid stats to do that in Empire at War.
We've lost the missile launcher. I've been hit.
Where'd he go?
Alright, I think we got as much as we're going to out of that. Is there an event or time lapse where Anakin gets replaced with the Vader model? Not currently. That probably not be done for the release, but that is definitely going to be something that eventually happens. Alright, so I'm going to move these guys, I'm going to save, and then I'm going to build the reveal structure. Hey, Asterix. So I feel a little bit better about the Yoden mod stream being the most viewers I'd ever had last night, because now this is slightly more than that, so I'm okay with that. So thanks to everyone watching right now, and thanks to everyone who leaves a like for my self-esteem. Thanks, Brady. You know the Dominator class is best. I know you that think that, but I have to respectfully disagree. But yeah, tonight Charlie should be there for Jackbox as well as Mark. So it should be a fun one. As well as a bunch of devs and some real life friends. And my girlfriend plays in those too. She won't be on voice. But she likes winning at trivia, especially. Okay. So Tibrin, I guess, is where we're going to build this.
Has been removed.
Construction complete.
Alright, now let's take a look. There's not many space units down here. Just this one, which is mostly ground units still. We've actually dealt with a lot of their space stuff. Renvar is not even that built up. Sheik has a bit, Contrum has still a bit, but also a lot of ground units. Corson, same. They attacked with a lot of what they had, it looks like. So all the ground units, or all the space units they have, they're kind of building for their attacks right now. Hey, Jack. Welcome to the fodder. Thanks for coming by.
Enemy forces ahead.
We need to do the... So we've been talking about doing some skirmish matches for a while. Haven't been able to work out a time yet because I was busy yesterday, unfortunately. But
At once.
Pull out.
that should be happening hopefully very soon.
Let's move out.
Carrick en route.
Reinforcements
Let's
cancelled.
move out.
Understood.
Reinforcements cancelled.
Moving to sector.
Reinforcements
I'm not
cancelled.
loving our chances here, actually.
Reinforcements cancelled.
I think we need another Venator and then I'd feel
Underway.
safer.
Understood.
But we'll give it a shot.
Eliminating target.
It's just Tarkin.
Bombers reporting in.
Yeah, you know what? I don't.
Calculating jump to light
This
speed.
isn't going to work.
I've been hit.
Coming back around for another run.
Ugh. There's basically a line of 2 planets all the way through the mid-rim. And Roche is building back up. Yeah, that wasn't worth it, that assault we did. Okay, I still need to build
Building
more of
start.
that.
Constructing.
More of that,
Beginning
more of that.
construction.
We're so strong in the core right now. Like we've really been exercising our core muscles. But oh shit, now I lost all those fleets because it doesn't bounce them. God damn it. That's what this was. We lost a lot of units there. So we need Path to Victory back, Existential Dreadnought, and Pax Republica.
Production.
I think we lost a few of our heroes that way too. It's a really annoying bug that we need to find a way around. Where when the planets get added to the CIS, like when they take over stuff, anything that the Republic is blockading their worlds with just dies.
Got it.
No, we haven't gotten any
Construction complete.
any
Online.
Invasion commencing.
ISCs or anything yet. Will all the YouTuber ships like Shaxx, X, and Charlie's be public? No, they'd be not in the main release. They'd be something that people can download, but it wouldn't be a
Heading out.
Maximum
I
unit
heard you were
capacity.
looking for a
it wouldn't be a
Jedi.
core part of the mod. Are you planning on including pre-Geonosis content in any way? That'd generally be done with individual battles, more likely than a GC. So, like, if there was any Stark Hyperspace War or something like that, that'd probably be how it's done, just tactical battles.
Follow behind me.
Well, the Stark Hyperspace War is the thing that would be most likely to potentially get to at least be doable as another Galactic Conquest, but there's still there's not a lot going on there.
With you, trooper.
This is Skywalker.
Let's do this.
On site, ready to assist.
For our brother.
This is, in fact, where the enjoyment
You
starts.
were looking for a Jedi.
There we go.
Okay, I'm not sure why you guys went up that way, but if we can get
Point, I've got point. Come on.
after that.
Sense conflict.
Alright, and I want some AA. Now let's just shell the shit out of this victory point.
Close range assault. Let's go. With you, trooper. This is so up.
This is Skywalker. I've got a very bad feeling.
Turret constructed.
For our brother.
I don't know why, but to me, Anakin's Clone Wars voice, the show, sounds a lot like Ek. Right? No. Worth a shot.
I heard you were looking for a Jedi.
Alright, as long as we can hit the victory point, that's good.
Follow behind me. Charge! Closing range. Starting kill sweep. Charge sweep.
Let's get some repairs. Back off. This is a lot. This is a lot. Back off. Back off. Back off. Back off. Anakin, go crush some stuff. And now we can start and advance here.
Sense conflict.
I've got you.
This is Skywalker. On site, ready to assist. I've got a very
Alright, we should be able to get the victory point now.
Unavailable.
See, the victory point just being here kind of concentrated everything a bit more. Even though ultimately we're probably going to win through the regular victory mode.
Unit destroyed.
Initiate bombing run.
Yeah, there we go.
Enemies in range.
Yeah, we were actually talking about me, Ek, Shaq, and Templin and Charlie doing a Sin stream fairly soon as well.
Construction
I
complete.
don't want more money right now. Get out of here, bugs. Alright, Contra Mimban.
Construction complete. Corruption has been removed.
Right away. Artillery online.
So I just want to take the Techno Union or Trade Federation planets as quickly as possible.
Vehicle in production.
That we got more for the army down here.
Unit in production. Constructing unit. Vehicle
There. Once we have those, that's actually a good invasion force for us.
Tactical battle imminent. Tactical battle imminent. Invasion commencing.
This is another pretty easy one. How do you plan to make the Umbara map? Not app. So there's still a lot of props we'll need to make before we can get to that. That's why some like Umbara, Megiddo, that are more distinct have maps that don't really suit them. The map we just played on being one of the less suitable ones, but it is a planet that requires a lot of unique props.
Choose your reinforcements. Construction complete.
And usually when people are starting to work on props, they end up being more interested in working on ships, so...
Close range assault. Let's go.
Alright, this will probably be another one where they try to rush us more because they don't have any structures really.
Trooper, let's do this.
Is this just a single commando? Yeah.
Lock and firing. Follow behind me.
Like, they have the mine, but that's not of any tactical value. Okay, let's try to get over here.
Ready to assist. I'm getting tired.
We'll have the artillery to support. We have the ISPs.
Looking for a Jedi.
If we can get Anakin on that, that would be really helpful. Okay, Lat, you are a bit too enthusiastic.
Sense confidence.
Alright, you are once again being enthusiastic in that direction. I don't think we need this anymore.
Sensor node has been sold.
When Order 66 is executed, would you do a little mission for Anakin on Mustafar? No, it's like the Mustafar thing was less connected to Order 66 and more about the Separatist Council. When you do Order 66, you're going to get a mission in the Jedi Temple. And I don't think we, like, doing a one-on-one duel mission isn't really great for Empire at War. Because, like, it's a strategy game and you've got two units just hacking at each other, so the strategy is just build you either win outright or you don't win outright, and you make it so you have to quote-unquote use strategy of building a back-to-tank like we did with all those units. So forcing people into that situation is usually not great. It'll probably just be like a story element of, like, Palpatine tells Anakin to go to Mustafar because there's rumors of Separatist leadership there, and then stuff happens. Because at least with Operation Nightfall, we can make an actual mission where you're controlling a few units. Really? Okay, cool. And it's like having the clones invader against a bunch of Jedi is at least not just a straight up stat check. It ends up being a bit more fun than that. I can't send a lad in for that, but I can send ISPs in.
Starting kill sweep. Point sweep. I've got point.
Can we get Jedi survivors in the CIS and Separatist holdouts? They didn't tend to, like, canonically, there weren't really many Jedi that would have gone to the Separatist holdouts. They didn't go to, like, believing in the CIS from what happened with the Empire.
Now. Taking Vanguard. Follow me. Close range assault. Missile show up. Lock and fire.
We are victorious.
Right.
System conquered.
It's all the ground units. God damn it. Whatever.
Roger.
Beginning construction.
Cruiser online.
Tactical battle imminent.
Alrighty, ground. I should have built up more defenses here.
Barracks destroyed.
Oh, Emberline has more stuff than I thought. Oh, that's actually mostly ground stuff too.
Invasion commencing. Planetary control achieved.
I figured that would be easier rather than sorting through all the units. Crap. Did you do it again? Okay, no, we didn't have any stuff over Commerce Guild planets. Just need to make sure we don't have anyone over... Yeah, this is risky. Because they seem to be doing a lot of that right now.
Star Cruiser here.
Enemy fleet approaching. Corruption has been removed.
At your command. Star Cruiser here.
I'm on
Get
my
out of there.
way.
Tactical battle imminent.
They thought they could move through here.
I'm on
Alright, Techno Union. Let's stop the Rishi movement, because they're going to go for Camino, I think.
Tactical battle imminent. Gravity control generator destroyed.
Oh, the Commerce Guild is Concordian Core. That's interesting.
Construction complete. Invasion commencing.
If they can get their retreat from planets before they flip thing to work, maybe Order 65 can got a Republic Civil War with Because no, if we do that, it basically turns the mod into a Galactic Civil War mod as well, which is a lot more than just like. There's a huge scope creep to that, and
To assist.
then the question is like, is it better to set up a Galactic Civil War mod within Fall of the Republic, or is that its own mod? And what content actually has to be done for that? And is forcing the player into a second game within the same map, is that something that's actually enjoyable, or is it something that just sounds cool up front, but then when you lose half your planets, you're kind of pissed off about it? Because that's one of the reasons that having like multi-era mods is not always a good idea. Because ultimately, like, if you play through the Clone Wars, then you're playing through the Galactic Civil War, you essentially already won that battle, or won that game. And then to play as the other factions, you're generally going to need to start as those factions. So, like, is it better to just get the functionality that you can get out of the story scripting for the additional factions by just having them be the core factions? Because if you do it that way, then you can't have unit locks and unlocks for the Rebels and the Empire, for example, because that is probably with the CIS and Republic. And having the CIS and Republic be the same faction ends up really fucking messy, because they're not the same factions, and they're going to be mislabeled in a bunch of places. The tech levels are going to be fucked up.
I sense conflict.
It's kind of not great. How does Order 65 work in the mod? You choose to support the idea behind Order 65 and Order 66 is that you have enough say within the Republic that you can choose whether Palpatine is successful or not in what he does. That's the entire logic behind the mechanic. So you can either side with the Delegation of 2000 and remove him, and the Republic stays united under you. Like, at most, we might do a couple other planets flipping or something, but we don't want to start a whole new empire with it. Or you side with Palpatine, and Order 66 happens. All the stuff that we know from in-universe happens. Okay, you're flying the wrong way.
Unit destroyed.
It'd be more likely that Order 65 or Order 66 leads to a rebellion than that Order 65 leads to an Empire faction.
Going in tight.
Choose your reinforcements.
Because having a few like additional rebel planets that are just rebelling, as opposed to being the Rebel Alliance with like Mon Calamari cruisers and shit, that's a bit more easily done within the scope of the mod, and without introducing the same problems I'm talking about, than it is to have like you're playing as the Republic, and then because you chose this thing, you now
Follow behind me.
get into this alternate history where we have to design a whole new timeline within the game's limitations, playing through the Galactic Civil War when the CIS is there, the Republic's there, and the Empire's there. It's... yeah.
Closing range.
Bombing run available.
This is Skywalker. I've got a very bad feeling about this.
Unit destroyed.
I'm really sad about that lat.
Going in tight. Now. There we go. Going in.
Okay, I think we need to park our artillery up on this stuff.
Now they're talking.
And
On site,
Anakin.
ready to assist. Great.
Come on. Follow behind me. Starting it home.
Heard you were looking for a Jedi.
Think you are safe in there.
So yeah, mechanically you get to keep your Jedi and you don't get the Kuat drive yard stuff. Like, we're not looking to make two hugely different rosters for each way where you get a bunch of different ground and space stuff for each one. There's some benefits to each side. It progresses the story. There's a few events to tie to each one. But we're not trying to put in like a bunch of Mon Calamari cruisers and all that stuff for Order 65. You get like Neutron Star Ball cruisers, but the main thing is like you keep the Jedi Order and some other story events tied to that. For Nightfall, you have unending reinforcements of clones, but you can only deploy 4 units on the map and have to reach the elevator at the top of the map with your spawn. We haven't decided any specifics for how we want to design it, so that'll get more into when we're
Constructing.
doing the actual implementation.
There we go. Going in. Now they're talking.
On site and ready to assist.
Come on.
Am I getting artillery?
Construction complete.
You can't artillery me. I artillery you.
Heard you were looking for a Jedi.
Thanks, Brady. Everyone forgets that Order 65 was just for show. Order 66 is the one that actually did anything. Well, for mod purposes, it's not just for show. It's just, like, there's only so much that makes sense to do within Empire at War. Like, the priority here is on gameplay and the narrative there.
Sense conflict within you.
And only doing what actually works within the game.
Gold Squadron commencing attack.
Buster Trooper. Locked and firing.
Initiate bombing run.
Charge. Let's do this.
But having, like, two entirely divergent republics and then trying to simulate the Galactic Civil War two different ways, like... So you're not just making a Galactic Civil War mod at that point, you're making two versions of a Galactic Civil War mod within a Clone Wars mod. And there's a lot that Empire at War doesn't do well with that.
This is Skywalker. Nobody told me it was gonna be this easy.
Hey, Picado. Does the Order 65 or 66 event require a living Palpatine? Palpatine isn't a hero in the traditional sense. He's the Chief of State, or the Chancellor, so he ties into some story events with that, unless you go with Mon Mothma, then she's the Chancellor.
Looking for a Jedi.
But... crap, that's dead too. But he only becomes a hero, like a playable hero, if you go the Order 66 route, and then you get the Emperor. When it comes to like an economic hero, there are a bunch of other options the Republic has, and it makes more sense to keep the political, like, the political characters away from that. Are there AA over here? No.
Construction complete.
We're kind of trapped.
Going in.
This is Skywalker. I'm getting tired of this.
For our brothers. Follow behind me. Scanning hostile.
On site and ready to assist. I heard you were looking for a Jedi. This is where
No, Anakin, don't do that.
nobody told me it was gonna be this easy.
I need you to go after the infantry.
Great. I'm getting tired of this.
Starting us home.
Alright, I want to capture this.
Let's go. Buster Trooper.
This is
No,
Skywalker.
Anakin, you're supposed to be over here.
I've got a very bad feeling about this. I'm getting tired of this. Nobody told me it was gonna be this easy. I've got a
No, you need to capture this. This is your whole purpose in life right now.
For our brothers.
I heard you were looking for a Jedi.
Thank you, Anakin.
Order acknowledged. Heading out.
Reinforcements canceled.
conflict.
Unit destroyed.
Closing range. Starting kill sweep.
Alright, that lasted longer over there than I thought it would. But now we can build a repair platform.
Order acknowledged. Heading out.
On site, ready to assist.
Repair station constructed.
Good Jedi. I'm getting tired of this.
After Order 66, the I heard you were looking for a Jedi line just becomes a bit more problematic.
Great.
Bombing run available.
I'm getting tired of this.
Construction complete.
Stay together.
I sense conflict within me.
Sensor node constructing.
This is Skywalker. Nobody told me it was gonna be this easy. I've got a very bad feeling about this.
Construction complete.
Alright.
Awaiting orders. Computers locked on target.
I think we've made it through most of their actual units.
Commence attack run.
Closing range.
I just don't want to fly into like an AA turret. Yeah, there's one there.
Target locked.
There's one there.
Following your lead.
Didn't realize they had that structure.
On site and ready to assist.
So Anakin,
Much better than
go up
being
there.
stuck up in the command center.
Let's go.
And I'm gonna send the saber tanks after the AA turrets.
Trooper. Going in.
Well, these guys go hunt down some of the other stuff. Oh, we still got an ATPT.
For our brothers. There we go. Now we're talking. Follow behind me. Come on. Charge. Follow me hard and fast.
I heard you were looking for a Jedi. Wait, this is it?
Stay together. Touch me. Closing range. Starting kill sweep.
And is this AV? No, AI. That's fine. Ooh. It's a lot of infantry fire, though.
Now. Let's do this. For our brothers.
Okay. Oh, they actually have a lot of structures here. I don't know why I didn't realize that. Or why I forgot that, at least.
Now we're talking. Come on.
There's no AA turrets here,
Going in.
so that's
Follow
good.
behind me.
Alright, now we can just fly up here.
Fast hard. Stay together. Closing range. Starting assault.
Priority target is the AA.
Starting
You
kill
fall
sweep.
back. You fall back. You fall back.
Let's do this. Now.
Alright, we have that cleared. Now we just gotta wait for the lats, and we'll follow them up the hill.
Follow behind me. Come on. Follow me. Close range assault. This is
Sense conflict within you.
And Anakin, you need to destroy them. That explains a lot of the units. You get Captain Rex and Commander Cody. They are not in the mod currently. They are likely going to be future heroes. We actually have the art assets done for them already. They're just not in anywhere.
This is Skywalker. Nobody told me it was gonna be this easy. Here's the part where I put all that Jedi training to good use.
starting kill sweep. Stay together. Let's go.
We were trying to keep the hero roster slightly more balanced, especially when there wasn't as much story element or as many story elements around them. In the future, you can balance different amounts of heroes around certain extra mechanics or story elements, whereas right now it's just the core functionality we need for the mod. Alright, I think this will be it for Denon.
Unit destroyed.
I heard you were
Bombing
looking for a
run
Jedi.
available.
I wonder if we'll ever know every contingency order.
Gold Squadron commencing attack.
There's actually a song about it.
Commence.
I sense
It's Robot Chicken, so it's questionable canonicity, but I think it gets close to what it would have been.
I've got a very bad feeling
Enemy has
about
been
this.
defeated. Planetary control achieved. Beginning construction.
Setting course. Right away.
Unit in
Constructing
production.
The
unit.
particles are starting to really double up here.
Moving into position.
Dreadnought cruiser ready.
Star cruiser here.
Tactical battle imminent. Corruption has been removed.
Closing range. Closing range.
Invasion commencing.
Alright, I think that's worth 10 clones.
Enlisting soldiers.
What are we looking at power-wise? Planet-wise, they've had a lot of jumps because of the adding the corporations. Oh, that was the Techno Union that took Radu? There's Grievous. Alright, you're gonna defend there.
Reporting.
This is quite the fleet.
Corruption has been removed.
Let's send Dallin to deal with that.
Construction complete.
There we
Cruiser
go.
online.
Tactical battle imminent.
The idea with the clone commanders is that they land with the main Jedi as opposed to being separate heroes. Might work with the Padawans too. There will be like Jedi teams in some cases, but we don't want to group the heroes like that because they will be used for a lot of story stuff,
The enemy has been
and
spotted.
having them all and always be together is kind of problematic for that. Any chance of a Procurator Star battlecruiser in the future? Procurator will be done eventually,
Use
most
your
likely,
reinforcements.
but it's another thing that needs a design. So that kind of stuff tends to take longer and be lower priority.
En route. Reinforcements en route.
We got Senate Defender, we got Dallin,
Navigating.
Reinforcements cancelled.
Democracy Warlord Star,
Let's move
Big
out.
Shivas,
Let's go.
Noble 6, and I'm gonna do Anti-Fighter for the rest.
On my way. Right away. Heading out. Fall out. Let's move out.
I'm Invincible is proven to be less than.
The lasers are our target.
Falling out of formation.
We had the Q-Wing to the mods. If we did a cannon mod, we would, but we don't currently have plans for that. So it'd never be in Thrawn's Revenge,
Attacking target.
but it would be in Kylo's Revenge.
I need help.
Star cruiser standing by.
Just like stuff with like the Profundity and all that, dude. There's a bunch of canon ships I like, but it doesn't. It's not part of the same timeline. And there's plenty of options within the proper timelines for it.
Nowhere to run.
Will the AI use the Malevolence? Yep.
Formation.
They'll use Subjugators and upgrade Grievous as well. We actually used to have problems with the AI spamming the Subjugators too much, especially before they were moved to level 4 shipyards. The Commerce Guild would have 5 and the CIS would have 5,
I need help.
so we changed some of the limits. Yeah, it got kind of ridiculous.
Opening fire on the
But now that they're on only level 4 shipyards, you're probably going to see them less. I'm not, like, I've seen Grievous upgrade to Invisible Hand at least, but
I need help.
it will be kind of rare for the AI to put Grievous in Malevolence. So we might do some more direct scripting around it to make sure it happens. Because keeping the hero on one planet while it builds stuff is not the AI's strong suit.
See him. Roger that. I can't see him. All fire on those torpedo launchers.
those torpedo launchers
Reporting
must be
Vision
destroyed.
2.
On our way.
I'm on them. Heavy cruiser standing by.
I need help.
I'll make sure Dallin doesn't die.
Our target priority is the laser.
Alright, I want to take out the Dual Ultra Heavy on you. We'll keep some of this.
Captain here. Nowhere to run. All guns, fire.
Why are Special Forces units all individual units? So many conflicts. So these aren't Special Forces units, these are patron units. Basically people who are patrons of the channel, Twitch subs, all that. For my playthroughs, they get to name a unit. That's why they have such a variety of strange names. But they're not part of the mod. They are just for the playthroughs.
I got one. Stay
has been
Been
destroyed.
hit. Taking fire.
Got one on me. I've been hit.
Reporting.
Get behind them.
I've got one on me.
Commander, they're hitting
Our
us.
engines are destroyed,
I
sir.
have
That is a
them
pure
down.
Corey loses thing, not a Thrawn's Revenge or Fall of the Republic thing.
Awaiting
Ready
orders.
to go.
Choose your reinforcements.
Nowhere.
Alright, we can bring in Phantom Strike.
Moving to sector.
Unit capacity.
I've been hit.
Detected.
I've lost engine 2.
Enemies in range.
Opening fire on the torpedo launchers.
I'm on them.
Fire on
And Nolan, I don't think it's an anachronistic thing. I think it's because of the unless you already did variants for the different sub factions, but
Got them in my
because
sight.
the CIS is rebel,
Star Cruiser
so the
here.
other factions get there first.
Back around for another run.
Oh, the ARC Troopers being individual commandos. For special forces like that, they're just more useful if they're individual. We can have more wider variety of roles within each
Confirmed. Cruiser online.
company,
Star
Right
Cruiser
away.
here.
and have them like have different abilities better.
Unit in production.
Do I? No, I won't build
Unit in
units.
production. Tactical battle imminent.
Tibrin. No. I need this to see.
Constructing.
Barracks
Infiltrator facility
destroyed.
destroyed. Construction complete.
Another option for the commanders, similar to what you do with patron units, but instead of building them, you already have them. Well, I mean, that's just making them a unit. That's basically no different. That'd just be a buildable hero unit or something, which may be what we do, but it's not really.
Engines to full.
It's not really decided. We're gonna have to talk about what we want for the different GCs and heroes and stuff. So it's a.
Tactical battle imminent.
It's not that we don't have ideas for it. It's just we don't know what will ultimately happen because we don't know what's going to work best yet, because we don't know the exact units there'll be. We don't know what other scenarios there'll be, that kind of thing.
Tactical battle imminent.
Let's see.
Cruiser online. There we go. Roger.
Gauge standing by.
Go to Pamont. I think Pamont needs to be turned up to a level 4 as well.
Tactical battle imminent.
Or Tracy Planetary Battle. Nyeh.
Gravity control generator destroyed.
Yeah, we're not making Camino produce a bunch of special units. It's clones you can get anywhere. Like the cloning vats were across the galaxy. Camino is like the main center for them. You can do like the research on Camino, but you're not getting a bunch of unique stuff from it.
En route.
Closing range.
Departure set.
Closing range.
Invasion commencing. Planetary control achieved. Beginning construction.
They're still holding on down there. Really sucks that we lost as many units as we did in the Trade Federation flip, because there was a lot there. Was that our Praetors as well? Because if so, it didn't reset the build limit. Those units just got deleted from existence forever. So it's not counting it as a death. For those, at least. What are we looking at here? Can Camino's production rate of clones be upgraded with more barracks? Any planet you can build faster with more units. Or build faster with more structures.
On my way.
That's
Building
a
started.
core function in Empire at War.
Cruiser online.
Corruption has been removed. under construction. Beginning construction.
I was really hoping to get through at least some of the spawn units. It's entirely possible it was broken at this point, because it was before the beta, and there was some stuff we had to change with it in the beta.
Corruption has been removed.
This is Legends Canon, Shin Mon Calamari, start CIS, we're in the corner and all that. The Corner Isolationist League, one of the fun parts of Legends is, as much as people want to say the Clone Wars was such a tight continuity, it wasn't. So the Mon Calamari tended to be rebel sympathizing, the
Vehicle in production.
Corins not, but you can't really,
We'll be there soon.
it's a mess.
Construction complete.
Yeah,
Construction complete.
the way the comics present it, though, it gives very different ideas about what went on there than other stuff.
Tactical battle imminent.
Closing range.
Construction complete.
Dreadnought cruiser ready.
Construction complete.
Would you consider adding research in Era 5 on Liana to allow Order 66 players access to early Imperial Starfighter designs? You already get the TIE Starfighter. We're not going to go beyond that. We're not trying to represent the entire early Empire here. Empire stuff would be its own thing. So we're not putting a bunch of work into stuff that is that niche when there's so many other things that are more related to the era that we can do.
Tactical battle imminent.
Enemy unit sighted.
Choose your reinforcements.
We can't actually kill any of these. But we do have Sunnyside up and Venerable.
On our way.
Republic
Coming about.
Pride. Immortal Betty White.
En route. Reinforcements
Our
cancelled.
Moving.
Katana fleet, basically.
Reinforcements
Engines to
cancelled.
full. Moving.
Reinforcements cancelled.
All ahead. Engines to full.
Reinforcements cancelled.
Moving.
Heading for coordinates.
At maximum unit capacity.
Alright. They're retreating. I think we're going to leave the campaign there. So we'll be streaming a bit later tonight with more Jackbox. And we will be starting another Republic playthrough later this week, so the patron name request will be up. But especially with the bug with limiting how many credits we can get, and now with half of those units being gone, we're over the tipping point of the campaign right now, and there's a lot of updates that have happened since this started. With the starting point for the Republic, a lot of mechanics around that, a lot of just polished content since the beta started. So we'll probably start that on Friday, Thursday or Friday, with the release hopefully being Wednesday night. So a bit earlier than I would have wanted to end the campaign, but I think we will get more out of starting a fresh one. So I'll get the patron ship list up tonight. I'll probably have a video announcing that tomorrow, and then hope throughout the week there should be more Fall of the Republic information. But yeah, so thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed the stream. If you want to see more streaming action tonight, we're going to be doing Jackbox at 8 p.m. EST, like I said. It's a bunch of party games, so I play with a few friends, a few other YouTube people, and people from the audience can join the games. So there's some trivia stuff, some like Fibbage, Quiplash, those games, if you ever heard of them. But either way, have a good night, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Hope to see you next time. Bye.